The latest Starfield news comes in the way of interviews with another person from Bethesda, and this time we got info on Starfield Quests and factions, comparisons to Fallout, Skyrim, as well as many other situations that you're going to find yourself in. Many people were curious exactly what this game would feel like and look like whenever they were exploring, and we're getting a little bit more insight into what that's going to look like. I put all the information right here at the beginning of the video in sort of a show open, and then I discuss it with the live audience, so make sure you're subscribed, have that bell button pressed if you want to be here for the live discussions. So if you missed this has been happening. They've been doing these interviews on the official Starfield channel or Bethesda channel, and they're unlisted, and then people find them, start to come over them. And this, they sat down with lead designer Will Shen, and they wanted to discuss factions and quests. Say that 5 times fast. Discuss factions and quests. So they sat down to discuss these things because this is something that is in previous Bethesda titles. If you're unaware, there were criticisms with how some of it was handled in Fallout, as well as some of the other titles, and just exactly how those things play out. You can pledge allegiance to a faction. You can find quests out in the open world. What's that going to feel like? How is that experience going to be? Now, when it comes to factions, many people thinking, is it going to be more like Skyrim or is it going to be more like Fallout? So in the video, they just flat out asked the question, can we join multiple factions and complete all of them like in Skyrim, or does joining one lock you out of certain others like in Fallout 4? And that was something that was criticized in some, circles. People didn't like the way that felt in Fallout. It's like, well, you blocked me off or I couldn't do certain things. Here's the quote. We decided we really wanted to make sure you can play through all the faction lines independently of each other. This time around, we really want the stories to be a little bit more personal. You're influencing the direction of where these factions are going to go. Say, the politics of the Free Star Rangers. What's more important, justice or industry? Where are you going to try to nudge them in this direction or another? So you're actually going to be influencing the outcomes of things that happen in the game. And he touched on this. He said that there would be far-reaching, consequences to the things that you're doing in the game. It's not going to just be sort of a, hey, you're getting to win rep or get loot or gear. He said, you don't necessarily end up as the head of every single faction in the game, but obviously all the major characters in every faction quest line will be reflecting in your choices. It can have far-reaching consequences for what the faction really cares about. So you're going to be making those decisions and then seeing those things met out in a far-reaching way as you play through the game. Now, according to the game's radar, Fallout 4's more restrictive relationship, faction, and dialogue systems were among the most common criticisms of the game. So it's encouraging to hear that we'll be able to dabble in all of Starfield's factions in one playthrough, not unlike the way Skyrim handled faction politics, especially with that being the first all-new universe that Bethesda is trying to tackle. So essentially the idea here is you're not going to feel that restriction. Just go with who you want, whenever you want, and then you'll be able to impact the outcomes of those things. Now, something else you're going to be able to impact, or at least the game's going to have an impact on you, is going to be dynamic quests. Now, what does that mean? What does dynamic quests mean? Are you going to be getting a random story? Well, this is how it was described. He said that they have new technology to put things on the planets. He said this time around we have entire planets that we have to populate, so we actually have new tech to take whole locations that we built and put them on the planets. So you're going to have larger encounters than just sort of some random NPC comes up to you and says, hey, we need you to do this thing. And this is what he had to say about that. You might be familiar with that in many games. You suddenly find somebody, they have a little exclamation point above their head, and they're like, my dog got lost. And then you go and do that mission. And everybody has that experience. Everybody finds that NPC. Everybody goes and finds the dog, okay? That's not what this is going to be like. He said you could say maybe you're going to an outpost and you actually discover there's a whole group of people with a particular problem, whereas before it might just be a person coming up to you on the road. Now it's an actual location that can be put there. But that's not where it ends. So this is where he starts to spell out exactly how these encounters are going to go. He says maybe they have a problem, like one of our members has been kidnapped by some pirates and we think they're over there. We actually are placing a whole other location in that person with that person in it, and then the enemies around it, so it's dynamically placed. So he's saying it's going to be a dynamically placed settlement, and then they take you to a dynamically placed dungeon as you're walking through the planet. So if this plays out the way that he's describing it, you and I will not have the same experiences in this game, unless, of course, we're sticking to the main story and the main dialogue points and the main NPCs. If you go onto a planet and I go onto a planet, according to this, there's going to be dynamic placement of things. And then even once you accept the quest, maybe we do find the same settlement, maybe we do find the same quests, the actual placement of the dungeon, the placement of how it goes is going to be dynamic. Now, some people are questioning, does this mean that it's random, so that you and I find the same planet and nothing is the same? The settlement locations aren't the same, the quests aren't the same, the way the quests play out is not the same. We don't quite know. He could be simply saying that they did this in order to automate, right? It's dynamic. We made these things and we dynamically placed them on the various planets. But it sounds like it's going to be a sort of a random procedural experience that you and I will not have the exact same experience. So you got factions, kind of going back to what people liked about factions in Skyrim, and you've got dynamic quests as you're exploring and running into what would be side quests, optional quests. This is not how the main quests in Starfield will work. I happen to think this sounds very, very promising. Every time they've done one of these interviews, I've gotten kind of excited when they went through the dialogue tree options and Todd was talking about all of that. And then this one getting into the details of exactly how that experience is going to feel organic when you're out there in the video game. I find it to be very, very exciting. I would love to hear from you. One of the best ways to communicate with me on these subjects is to be here for the live streams. I'm going to turn my attention obviously now to the live chat. If you enjoy these streams, make sure you hit subscribe, the bell button. Consider becoming a member so you can be there for the members only streams. That does support me directly. You may see ads when we have the past broadcast running, but when you're here for the live stream, I do not run ads. One of the reasons we don't have to do that is because we have a very, very awesome member base, and we do a little incentive every day for you with a member goal over there in the corner. Thank you guys so much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I appreciate you being here. This is only for random encounters. Yeah, you're not going to be going on main quests and having this experience. Like, if you and I interact with mainline NPCs and main stories, it's not going to be like random, like they're going to send you to a blue planet and they're going to send me to a red planet. That's just not how it's going to be. Good morning, Feed. Good to see you in the chat. J Murph says, congrats on 23K. We did. We hit 23K subscribers. Thank you, everybody who helped us do that. I appreciate everybody who has been smashing the like button, everybody who's been contributing to the member goal. I'm actually going to put it on the other side because of the lighting change today. I was having, the reason we're late today is I was fiddling with the stupid autofocus on this camera. I just cannot figure it out. It's so frustrating. The only thing I could think that changed is my glasses. And since my glasses aren't having all this glare and they're not big, it's just having a harder time tracking my face. Like, it keeps thinking that I think that is a face, and I just think it's confused. I would love to maybe just put a different disc plate there and be done with it. But I don't like promoting disc plate because we're not really working with them anymore. These are just ones we made for the studio. There's going to be good luck YouTubers doing quest how-to guides. Well, I don't necessarily think anybody's going to be concerned about how-to guides for these side quests. I mean, that is a good point, though. Stream today, B. Good morning, bro. What's good, Wheezy? Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw that story. So if you're a member and you were looking for your sneak peek, I didn't do it. Creatures like, we should give everybody a sneak peek. Just use the story feature on mobile. I don't know if anybody even saw the stories. I don't know how well stories even work on YouTube. I personally don't like them, but if they're effective in letting folks know what we're talking about the next day, I gave it a shot last night. Caleb, Chris, Kellinator, Killage, and Johnny, you guys all got a gifted membership from Rockin' Robin. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so, so much. I'm going to slide the... Well, no, let's leave the alerts over there. We'll put them right down there. Thank you guys so, so much for being here. Rockin' Robin getting things started with our first member batch. That's 5. This thing down to the corner, every 25, I have to give 5 back. So thank you, Rockin' Robin, for getting us started. Wheezy hitting a 15-month, and that's a member plus. You know what's funny? I've never actually clicked this button. Yeah, 15 months, my man. Welcome back in, and thanks for doing a member plus. Member pluses and VIPs got a behind-the-scenes video, an upload. All members get into member streams, but I did like a special upload for member pluses and above. Supposed to be on the, you're supposed to, but yeah, supposed to put it on the community tab. They changed the way they made it, so I understand how it went wrong. It's dumb the way they changed them. Yeah, I'm using the Sony A6000. Yeah. No co-op. No, there is no co-op in Starfield gameplay. If you were looking forward to playing with your friends, you're not going to be able to do that. Now, I've continued to speculate that they could do something to the extent of like, hey, we're going to do an update later on called the Companion Update, and people could come and play with you. The problem with that would be is you'd have to build infrastructure and netcode for that, and I don't believe that they're doing that. That would be kind of strange. From my understanding, Starfield Quest numbers are going to be 2-to-1 in comparison to Fallout and Elder Scrolls. What's good, Big O? I wonder how many random encounters it takes for you to start getting repeats. Got some lovely beer for tomorrow. Oh, nice. Neck Oil Session IPA. I got a Sierra Nevada sampler I'm going to use. I like doing that. The mod community will have co-op in the first 2 weeks. I don't know, because if there's no netcode baked in, how would they do it? I mean, I guess they'd have to backbone it on something like Steam's. I don't know how you would do it. Starfield's a massive space game, and it's not multiplayer. No, there's no multiplayer in this game. None. Yeah. It's basically, is Starfield basically Mass Effect? No, not at all. It's gonna be more like Skyrim, Fallout had a baby and then sent it to space. Like, that's what it kind of feels like to me. All the systems that they're talking about, all the things that they're discussing and outlining, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like they are saying, hey, you're going to be able to have very, very familiar sessions with your factions, and we got random quests coming out, right? You guys like my shirt? I love this shirt. It's from Into the AM, so appreciate them and working with them. Oh, I didn't put stuff on my little stand here today. Skyrim has seamless co-op for 4+ players. What? No, yeah, you're right. They added it to Skyrim. That is true. That is true. The game just died, or is DOA? Kratos, I don't think you quite understand the appeal of games like this. This game's not DOA. Like, Skyrim was incredibly popular. Fallout 4 was incredibly popular. Bethesda's known for building games like this and them being incredibly popular, and in spite of maybe bugs or problems, they have great success. Like, to pronounce this as DOA simply because you can't play with other people is ignoring the history as well as the draw for games like this. Like, I could see why it might be DOA for you subjectively. You're like, well, this thing's DOA for me. I'm not touching this thing. This game will be very popular. On the Bethesda name alone, this game will be popular, I think. I mean, people love games like this. They really, really do. And I'll be honest with you, I loved the concept of jumping into a game like this and playing it with another person. But at the same time, I think people will lose themselves in this game. They'll just completely throw themselves at it. Yo, Chase Hayden coming in with a 2-month milestone. Thank you so much, Chase, for also doing a member plus. I appreciate that. DOA stands dead on arrival. 1,000 planets to explore by yourself? Yeah, no. Kratos, I got news for you. The average person that's playing No Man's Sky is doing a lot of it by themselves. They're exploring, discovering, building, crafting. There are plenty of people that love a game like this. They love an exploration game. It's very common for people to play a game like this and be like, bro, I'm having a freaking blast. K. Cole with 2 months, and it's a VIP plus. That's a big one. Welcome back, K. Cole. This game's going to offer hundreds and hundreds of hours. To say it's DOA either means you only own a PlayStation 5 or you hate playing alone. I would say that expectations are often set by genre, right? I think certain genres set people's expectations, and I think for him, he's like, giant space exploration game with 1,000 planets. Oh man, yeah, that's going to be a multiplayer game for sure. And hearing that it's not, he's like, what the F? Like, yeah, I think he loves single players games. I mean, his name's Kratos. I feel pretty confident that Starfield is the kind of game I could easily play for 6 months without blinking. My Fallout 4 monster will come out, but I ain't gonna buy a box. So, right, you gotta either get this on PC or an Xbox. That's right. I can see it already. I'm going to start the main quest in Starfield, get sidetracked for dozens of hours with side quests like Shiny Nickel Paradise. That's right. I'm going to buy the crap out of Starfield. I'm telling you, after this interview, I was like, bro, this game sounds extremely going in the right direction. I don't want to say extremely promising. That just gets so cliche to say that all the time. But it does sound extremely promising. The latest Starfield information about quests being random in the open spaces and factions being more like Skyrim, like, I feel like that is a huge, huge confidence boost for many people. I do. I feel like that's a huge confidence boost. If you want a nice chill game in the evening, I recommend checking out Blacktail. Just hit today. They sent me a code, and sadly, we were going to feature it, but like we are continuing to reevaluate what we're doing with gameplay, and I think we've got a great strategy for next year, and I still continue to think lesser prominent games, we're going to have a place for them, and it's just not going to be here on gaming. Lesser prominent games. We will still do gameplay here, but it's just really, really challenging to take a game like that there's so much demo footage out there, and there's so few people really interested. Single-player games that hold your hand telling you what to do. You like storybook games? Well, I don't think that's fair. Just because he likes God of War Ragnarok. Summarizing God of War Ragnarok as a game that holds your hand, tells you what to do, and is a storybook game is, like, disingenuous at best. Like, calling God of War Ragnarok a storybook game, I mean, I'm just gonna say it. That's stupid, Paul, and you know it. Like, you're just saying something stupid to goad him. You have to play Bethesda games on PC. It's almost an unstated rule at this point. The mod community does Bethesda games better than Bethesda. I mean, I played Skyrim and I played Fallout on my console, and I never really had it. It felt like I wasn't getting any problems. You discuss Halo dropping its Forge mode. What? What are you talking about? Dropping it. It's been out for a while. I was saying this about dungeons and random quests since it was announced. They did it in Oblivion. They procedurally generate a ton of quests and dungeons, so this doesn't surprise me. Storybook game? Yeah, well, I'm pushing back on him saying Starfield's DOA, but I'm not doing it in a way where I insult his taste. Right? Like, we don't need to insult his taste and insult God of War Ragnarok simply because he said something kind of silly about Starfield. Like, that doesn't elevate the conversation. Were you just going to trade blows in the Discord? Well, you like storybook games. Well, you have bad breath. Like, what? Well, who? We're not doing anything. I need my mods. I can't do it without it. I've actually always felt this way when it comes to mods. I just prefer to play the vanilla game. I don't mean vanilla like don't give me patches and updates or whatever. I mean like I don't want all those extras because I want what the devs built. I'm weird like that. I have a weird stigma with mods, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I see how crazy they go, and I just assume it's going to start to get into the frivolity of like diluting the game into a joke. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about, hey, here's a texture pack. Hey, here's the ability to play Skyrim with your friends. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, Thomas the Tank Engine, Bart Simpson nonsense. I don't like those kinds of mods, and I'm always worried once I go down the path of modding, I'll be like, that's what I'll be doing to my games. Yo, Rissick with a $10 tip through Super Chat. Enjoying the show with some Frickmas coffee. Everybody order. It's great coffee. Well, Rock and Robin got us started with our first 5 members of the day on our daily goal. That daily goal of when we hit 25, I have to gift 25 to the community. Who wants to be the first coffee order? Since we have our first batch of members, and you guys can add to that total anytime you feel like it. Just roll out of bed. All sick and crap. Starfield topic. Yeah. What's good, Teddy? I'm new at Discord. I don't know if I used it correctly, but thank you so much for my coffee order. I'm so happy. I can't thank you guys enough. Hey, Goddess, I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you guys are curious, hang on. Let me grab the bag. Here it is. It's supposed to be on the thing next to me. Our Frickmas blend showed up in white bags. So we're turning this into something fun for you. These bags are basically special edition, all right? So you get limited edition signed bags. I'm dreaming of a white Frickmas. If you guys do any tweeting, do hashtag white Frickmas. That's not a sponsor, by the way. That's our coffee. That is in my house. My wife and kiddos ship it to you. So feel free to check out reforgeroast.com, or you can use the coffee command in chat. Chat will tell you how good it is. I don't have to. Skyrim without mods is unironically crap to me at this point. So many quality of life mods have essentially changed the game for me. That's the thing, Wheeze. I know myself, and I would be like, I'm doing it for the quality of life mods. And then I'd probably all of a sudden be riding Thomas the Tank Engine and killing Bart Simpson. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know... I know where I would end up. Not Frickmas. I always say, what the frick, and a long time ago somebody said Merry Frickmas, and we just ran with it. It's kind of an OG thing around here. I just know that's what I would end up doing. So I'm not saying that, like, mods are bad and I don't like them. I just have a weird stigma when it comes to mods. I didn't get a picture with my coffee this time. So sad. JK, great product. We took a different approach this time, Tech. We had like 60 orders to fulfill on the weekend. So I signed the bags and my wife and kiddos got everything else ready. It made it go quite a bit faster. If my kids had to write like 60 thank you notes, it would have taken twice as long. So sorry about the lack of pictures in some of the orders. Some people did get pictures. Not everybody did. Some people did. Real mods cost money. I'll never touch mods till after I finish the vanilla version first. I've only ever added texture weapons, houses, nothing too spicy. I don't like to go too wild. The Merry Frickmas on the bag was too cute. So happy I'm so happy with the Frickmas blend. Giant cup chillin'. There you go. Thanks for being here. Have the kids color on the bags. My daughter really wants to. I just didn't know if we wanted to go down that road. I want it to look nice, not insane when it shows up. Like a nice message from me and having it signed as opposed to just scribbles and, who knows what. They draw things sometimes. It's like, what is that, You're not wrong about the mods once you go into the rabbit hole. Yeah. So if you guys wonder why we're talking about mods, the latest Starfield news is about factions and about quests. And the Starfield factions has us kind of going down the rabbit hole of Skyrim. And the reason it does is because the guy basically said Starfield will be more like Skyrim than Fallout 4 with respect to factions and your experience with them. You're not going to be locked in. You'll be able to do all of them. These will have far-reaching consequences as you sway them or nudge them toward different decisions, but you're not going to end up being like the leader of every faction in the game. He also got to talking about the Starfield Quests and how they're going to behave. And he gave a pretty strong indication, okay? I don't know if this is exactly what he meant, but this is how it sounded, and this is what the headlines are running with, okay? So I'm not falling prey to headline culture, right? I went and I got the direct quotes, okay? I got your message in Discord, Goddess Omega. Thank you. I went and got the direct quotes. And the way he's describing it is they're taking locations and dynamically placing them on planets. Okay, and then you're going to run up to something that you find, some dynamically placed settlement. That's what he said. The settlements are dynamically placed. And they're going to say, oh, so-and-so got kidnapped. Oh, okay, we think they're over there. And that person and that place and where you end up is also dynamically placed. So as he's describing it, what this sounds like to me is if you go to planet 117 and I go to planet 117, it ain't going to be the same planet in your game as it is in mine because the settlements and the NPCs are dynamically placed. Now, I don't know if he meant we dynamically placed them when we built it or they're going to be dynamically placed when you play it. I don't know. Then, once you accept those missions, it also sounds like the results are random. Oh, it's over here. He got stolen by pirates. But when you go to the planet, they're like, my goat has been killed. Can you find the murderer? And then we think they're over there in the mountains. Procedural generation does not equal random. Well, but he didn't say procedural generation. He said dynamically placed. He said that. He said, we actually are placing a whole nother location. Okay, this is his conclusion. This is his conclusive statement. He said, so it's a dynamically placed settlement that is taking you to a dynamically placed dungeon as walking through the planet. As you're walking through the planet. So it's a dynamically placed settlement and a dynamically placed dungeon as you're walking through the planet. I don't know how else to take that. The headlines are all saying, oh, it's dynamic. It's going to be random encounters. What does dynamically placed even mean? Random. Not statically placed. Like, think about it. If it's dynamically placed, then it's not statically placed, which means if it's not static, then your game and my game should be different, I think. Sounds like it's going to be like the monuments and the settlements in No Man's Sky. They'll be scattered about and give the world more depth and a reason to explore to keep the planets from being empty. That's lame to me. I want to visit your stuff, says Derek. I always wanted to be able in Fallout 4. You all told me that's possible in No Man's Sky, but that's one of the main reasons I will buy it. Yeah, I mean, but this isn't a multiplayer game. It's not designed for anybody to see your stuff, visit your stuff, or be excited about what you're doing. That sounds to me like we built the settlement, but we don't know where it will be on the planet. That's exactly what it sounds like. He says that earlier. He says, we have new tech to take whole locations we built and put them on the planets, right? But he's saying it's going to be placed on the planet dynamically. Sounds like he was purposely avoiding the term procedural. Yeah, he's not saying procedural like you land and like bloop, 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 bloop. It procedurally populates the planet. It's like, no. When you land, everything gets dynamically placed. And then when you accept the quest unfolds in a dynamic way. Which means there's probably a batch of outcomes every time with respect to like locations and quest types, but you and I might have very different experiences when we both go to planet 117. I'm just throwing out a number, a random planet number. And to me that sucks. At least give us the option to see what our friends did or built. Hey, 2 orders of coffee already, a bag of Frickmas to tattoos, and a bag of Frickmas to Earthbound. Let's go. I love to see that. Thank you guys so much for your confidence in the coffee. I appreciate that very, very much. If you're ever curious about all the ways to support, there's links in the description below. The absolute best way to support is to be here as often as you can, listening, lurking, and don't forget to do all the things. You got to smash those buttons and, be involved. You can't just always lurk. You got to do a couple of things. So this is what they did. They built an entire settlement. When they build it, they did not make it so it spawns in a single location on 117, but has many places it can spawn. I think that's correct, Butters. Yes. I think that's correct. I think that's the way it will play out. So you and I can find the same settlement, but it'll be in different locations. And then the quests that we accept are potentially going to play out in a random and dynamic way as well. I get where you're coming from, but that sounds like a waste of bandwidth to me. What waste? Like, oh, are you talking about what Derek's talking about? Sounds like a waste of bandwidth? I 100% sympathize and empathize with players who are like, I did all this stuff. I went to Planet 117, combed over it, and then I built my own settlement, and I got all these people working and all these structures. And man, I wish I could show this to my buddy. I wish I could walk around this place with my bud. Like, I sympathize and empathize with that. Because I'm kind of the same way. But then I'm also like, games cannot be all things to all people. It just isn't possible. A game that attempts to appeal to everybody ends up appealing to no one. So you gotta be careful. You gotta own your identity. So it's procedurally generated but placed different for every player? No, it's not procedurally generated. No. It sounds like the settlements themselves have been built and probably what I would call questline parameters have been built so that when you accept a quest, it dynamically unfolds. So you and I both land on Planet 117, and everything's dynamically placed, meaning random, not procedurally generated, but random. So I might find the settlement right next to a crater, and you might find the settlement right next to a lake. Same settlement, though. When you get into the inner workings of it and you look around, it's going to be the same settlement. Then you accept the quest, and somebody has been kidnapped, and they think that they're in a cave system. And I accept the quest, and someone lost their ship on the other side of a mountain. So we're helping them, but it's not necessarily the same every time. And even as it plays out, he said it'll almost play out dynamically. Like sometimes they'll think, oh, they're over here, and then you go over there, and that turns out to be false. And oh, no, it's this way. Like, it's not going to be the same way every time. What Lono is saying is what I'm talking about. You build all this amazing stuff, and no one can see it. Right, and see, Kratos is getting at, people just have different brains. Some people, it tickles the part of their brain to build an empire in a game, and no one ever sees it. Right? No one ever sees it. But other people are like, bro, if I build a log cabin, I want someone to see it. I don't care. It took me 20 minutes, it took me 20 hours. I want to show this off to people. You know? It makes sense. Procedurally generated doesn't always mean random. Elite Dangerous procedurally generated 400 million star systems that are the exact same for everyone. Right, procedurally generated can refer to the coding technique, which they did use some procedural generation in the forming of Starfield. If you're just tuning in, we are covering the latest Starfield news about factions, about quests. The factions are apparently going to be more like Skyrim and less like Fallout. And then the random quests that you accept out in the open world and on the open planets apparently will be dynamic. They will be not the same for everyone. Congrats on 23K. Thank you. You guys helped us hit 1,300 members as well. And we are setting our sights on 1,500 members. That's our next goal. You can help with it every day by chiseling away at that member goal. And when we hit 25, I gift 5 back to the community. So big milestones. We hit 23K subscribers. We're back to a member count, a paying member count of 1,300. And we're setting our sights on 1,500 next. Array has a set number to like 100. If the computer picks 100, that blue player, you're so many typos, I can't read what you're saying. We are talking about Bethesda. They habitually give us the taste and not the depth. Letting us visit each other's worlds would be a big step in the right direction for depth in the building. Array programming terms. Yeah, it's not array programming terms, homie. It's just riddled with spelling mistakes. I can't read what you're saying. I can't make heads or tails of it. I think every third word is misspelled. For random generation, will you get a proper storyline? Here, that's an excellent question. So as far as the Starfield story is concerned, that's locked in. He was talking about quests and NPCs and settlements that you stumble upon out when you're just exploring. So you're just out doing your thing, and you find a settlement. Well, that settlement's been dynamically placed, and the quests that you accept from them will play out in a dynamic way. I get the appeal, says Solemn, and it makes sense. But if it wasn't already in the game and thought of, then I think it would be a waste of bandwidth to work and consider it. Certainly, if you're going to bake into a game like Starfield far-reaching systems like netcode, playing with others, showing off your settlement, yes, I would say that you got to be careful. You're going to run the risk of completely disrupting what you're building by being like, oh, we got to do all this extra stuff. Well, it could be 100% a mistake. Because again, you got to stick to your core competencies. Like, what kind of game are you building? You can make array to like random number 0 to 10 in the number place location XYZ. Right, so what you're basically saying is picture Battleship, guys. Let's make this real easy for us to picture. Picture Battleship as a grid. Imagine that grid is wrapped around a planet. And when you land on planet 117, it says, oh, this settlement needs to be at B12. And for me, it's at C28. So they're in different locations. Like, it just picks a dynamic. It's like, boom, dynamically placed. And then when you accept the mission, it's probably going to go through a Rolodex of potential things, parameters. There's parameters of missions that you might get. Lost puppy, kidnapped child, lost loot, whatever. Yes, call them locations 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's not procedurally generating your experience, but it is giving you an experience that would be unique to you. Hey, the math class I took on polar coordinate systems might not be entirely worthless now. Yeah. Or you could have just learned how to play Battleship. I'm kidding. That's too simple for me. I can only think in 7 dimensions. If there is a planet 117 in the game, I swear to all that is holy, I will raise it. And there you go. That entire aspect of Hogwarts fell flat too. Yeah, we covered Hogwarts Legacy yesterday, and there are people that are going to say and conclude similar things about that game. They're going to say, why? Why build? Why invest? Why customize? What's the point? Came by to say hello. What's good, 510 Live? How are you? What's the point of all this? Right? I build this, I do this, I customize that, I raise this animal, then why? Right? Why should I do any of this? The Wolong live stream yesterday was awesome. It sounds like it's going to be riddled with bugs and glitches. I have a feeling it'll have a launch similar to Cyberpunk. Why does this sound like it's going to be riddled with bugs and glitches and have a launch similar to Cyberpunk? You got to outline that for me. We're talking about the internal logistics of systems that are not actually all that complex or complicated. Dynamically placing quests or settlements and having like a dynamic, sort of outworking of a quest is actually not that... It's not that revolutionary, to be quite honest. I'm not taking away from what they're saying and acting like it's not that big of a deal, but it doesn't sound to me like they're trying to reinvent gaming. Solemn says, what if you wanted to build exactly where your friends already have, or if it stops certain NPC stuff and settlements from spawning in more favorable spot because your friend's stuff is showing up? Well, Solemn, I think what Derek was suggesting is I would invite you to my universe. And I'd be like, I built on this planet. And you're like, oh, I built on this planet too. Well, your stuff wouldn't be there. Right? You're in my game. So my stuff would be everywhere. Like, I agree that building this would take a lot of work and probably is something that was, they didn't do it. And if to go back and do it would be a lot of work. But I don't think he was saying, like, an online... I don't think he was saying online shared world, right? The Lonoverse sounds terrifying. Yes. Yeah. Welcome to Lonoverse. That sounds like I'm trying to get you into, like, NFTs or something. Don't leave. I'm not trying to do that. We tried to cover that side of gaming, like, twice, and it went terribly. People do not like it. They don't want to hear about it. We have YouTube and screenshots to share our cool universe. Well, of course, like, you can do the tried and true thing of, like, taking a picture of your television. Like, I did that. I was going through my Facebook memories recently, and one of the first times I killed a dragon in Skyrim, like, I stood in front of him. I had, like, the northern light effect behind me as the sun was setting, and I took a picture with my phone. And it, obviously, that's, like, straight boomer behavior, right? Taking like a picture of your television. Straight boomer behavior. I'm sure Teddy does it all the time. In any case, $2 tip from Akuta Papa. Microsoft has the tech for it. They own Minecraft. So they may have less glitches because it's a familiar engine for them, but we'll get the same emotionless NPCs whose faces look atrophied from years of Botox use, just like Todd Howard. Oh, that's unkind. You don't need to say unkind things about Todd Howard and what he looks like. I actually think the NPCs in this thing look quite good. I do. Frick you, Lono. I have an Xbox with a share button. That's right. That's right. Don't start on the engine. Hang on, though. Hang on. There are people that try to say that about these NPCs. And listen, I'm on record saying that these NPCs actually look quite good. They look quite good. Here's an example of one of the NPCs in the game. Just so realistic, I think, and kind of good looking. I think good fashion sense. And let's look at some of these other NPCs that are in the game. Like, I get what you're saying about the dead-eyed stare. I do. I know they're glassy-eyed. I know they look a little bit, like she's not there. But if you compare her face, her hair, her outfit, the details in the textures of the clothing, she actually looks quite good. And there's something that you always have to consider in games like this, okay? You have to consider something. Automation is the reason that you can interact with this many NPCs. The reason that you can interact with this many NPCs and have conversations and dig down and do different things, it's actually quite good. The automation is going to enable you to have way more conversations and experiences with NPCs than so many other games. Because you could go to something like Horizon Forbidden West, and you could say, well, the NPCs and interactions in that game are far better. They look far more realistic. Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the number of NPC dialogue lines in Horizon Forbidden West is significantly smaller than Starfield. They're different games with different aims. The millions of permutations of experiences that you can have in this game with the different NPCs, with the different conversations, with the different factions, you have to remember the reason you're able to do that is because of automation. They're automating a lot of the facial animations. And because of that, the faces they're going to have a certain non-handcrafted look, right? And I think she's probably the worst example, to be quite honest with you. I think there's plenty of other examples that look really good. Here's one of them. I actually think that looks fantastic, right? I think this looks absolutely fantastic. For automated NPC conversations, this is a huge step up, not just for Bethesda, but for video games in general. There are very few games that you're going to be playing in the next couple of years that are going to have this many NPCs, this many dialogue permutations and possibilities for experiences, this many dialogue lines that look this good. I think most games that try this end up looking pretty bad. The NPCs and the facial animations end up looking kind of rough, right? I think this looks quite good. The eyebrow raise is pretty good. The eye scrunch is pretty good. Now, I will say sometimes the emoting, showing emotion in this game, is a little late to the party. It's like they say they're surprised or they say something with a surprised voice inflection, and then their eyes animate after. Here's another great example of I just think this is just solid character design. I think that the level of detail here, you know, compare this to so many other games right now where you can walk around and talk to thousands of NPCs and there's millions upon millions of dialogue lines. Didn't they add up the dialogue lines in this and we did like a comparison video? Or no, they have their own comparison video, and the number of dialogue lines for this game just far exceeds all their previous games, which means there's not really a game in existence right now with this much dialogue in it. Facial animation solid. Yeah, that's solid work. It's not bad. And it's not going to be much better than this in games like this. It just isn't. Graphics look fine, NPCs look fine. Like, here's another example of there's obviously a high fidelity here and very good detail. And he's sort of automaton, right? He's just kind of standing there, staring straight forward. But the skin detail, the lighting, the reflections, the detail of his clothing, that is like, I honestly don't think they're getting enough praise for the NPC design in this game. I really don't. I think people are doing the same thing they always do. Well, the NPCs kind of have a dead-eyed stare. Well, okay. That's all you got? Super reflective, it's too much. The eyebrow raise, I think it's one of the stronger points of what they have shown up to this point. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, today our second stream is going to be the dev stream with Diablo. The plastic look bothers me more than the eyes. Some of it's the lighting. Like, this guy doesn't look plastic, and it's because they don't have like super bright lights on him. I think he looks really good. You know, the way the light's kind of hitting the leather over here on that side. I honestly think for a game with, according to the latest Starfield news, you're going to be able to just find like settlements and NPCs, and it'll be dynamically placed, and the quests will be dynamic. His clothing looks plastic. I completely disagree with that. The difference in texture is so noticeable. The worn look of the leather here on the inside compared to the cloth on the inside here, the way the light interacts with the leather in different intensities because of the different textures, this does not look plastic at all. This looks great. This is one of the better aspects of their character design. I think their clothing looks really, really good. Like, that looks like a leather jacket to me. They put a lot of work into look how it's like worn at the seam lines, right? And then there's almost like subtle dark scratches here. It doesn't look plastic at all. Light doesn't do that to clothing. Yes, it does. It does that to leather. Tell me you've never worn a leather jacket without telling me you've never worn a leather jacket. Leather does that when light hits it. What do you mean? Leather jacket. Let's pull up a picture of a leather jacket. Open image in a new tab. What are you talking about? Look how reflectant it is. Look at this over here. Look at the intensity of the white and the way it gets less intense on the fold, and then obviously you have the shadow on the inside. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I actually have a couple other jackets almost just like this. I love them. They're like so good. I have a brown one and a black one. They do. Leather shines. No, they do not. No. Oh my gosh. So what we're concluding is that this guy's cheap and isn't wearing a real leather jacket. He's wearing pleather. Is that what we're saying? Because that shine on his shoulder looks an awful lot like this. Looks an awful lot like this with respect to shininess, you know? Apparently, you know, old man Gibbons here is wearing a pleather jacket, right? Freaking cheap outringer, you know, he's just out here on the borderlands of existence wearing cheap leather. It's unbelievable. Thought I was buying a next-gen game, you know? Thought I was buying something that was going to look up to snuff here. Boom. Leather shines if you actually take care of it. Have you seen cows in space? Yeah, they probably have a limited supply of cows in space. You know, they don't have that many to make leather with. In any case, this is all footage we've looked at before. The point that I'm making is, if you look at the number of dialogue lines in Starfield, and you look at the NPCs, and you get super judgy about, like, well, their eyes are a little glassy, and they kind of move a little bit like, you know, like animatronics from, like, a wax museum or something. Yes, and that's pretty much part and parcel to a game that's full of automation. I had this exact same conversation with somebody about Hogwarts Legacy recently, when they showed off that new gameplay a while ago, and he was walking around interacting with NPCs. The NPCs had a similar sort of dead-eyed stare and a stiff movement thing. Yes, it's been automated. They were able to save bandwidth and development time by automating the way that character interacts with you and moves. Why? Because there are so many voice lines that they could potentially say instead of animating their face for every single line. Like, you respond and you say, you know, you're ugly, you're handsome, I love you, right? And they answer back in 3 different ways, and then those 3 different answers branch off into 3 different trees of potential permutations of conversations. So there's all these insane, like, every interaction has hundreds, if not potentially like thousands of recorded lines, and you're like, well, yeah, it looks a little animatronic. Well, yes, because they didn't individually animate all the dialogue. They're overlit and it makes a plastic look. It's fine. It is what it is. I don't think they're overlit. I think it depends on which scene you look at. And I think some of the scenes look that way because they're in artificially lit, like, space stations. Like, there's fluorescent beaming lights everywhere. Right? I mean, look at the difference in lighting right now. That's just my camera. I've not set the white balance on that one the same as this one. It's a freaking pain in the butt, right? So, but when you're underneath lights, like, look at the sheen on my cheek. Look at that white. You know what I'm saying? I don't have like an oily face. And look at me here. See what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't think they're overlit. I don't think they're overlit and look plastic. I think some of the sequences, you're literally in like a space station with all this artificial fluorescent lighting, and it's like, beep, and they're like shiny. And other instances, they're not. Like, the old man wasn't shiny. The old man wasn't shiny at all. Now, the corner of his jacket was. Yeah, look at that. Like, leather isn't shiny. Like, look at Fast Flex picture in the Discord. He's got his leather wallet out. And he's in probably like a decently lit room, and it has a shine to it. I don't think all of the NPCs look shiny. I think in some instances, like right here, I think is a good example of somebody that's just, look how shiny he is, you know? Look how shiny his jacket is. This NPC here, speaking to us about Starfield, I think is properly lit. Now, if you look here, obviously I'm being cheeky about Todd Howard. If you look here, I actually think in an NPC designing environment, you want them to be well lit because you want to see everything, right? And even here, I don't think he's shiny. His hair is, and the different textures of his outfit, right, change, right? And okay, here we go. And, his nose is a little bit more shiny. Why? It's sticking out more than the rest of him. His ears and everything. I don't know. I think they look really, really good. I also think some of them, you can definitely see the skin texture a lot more when their skin is darker. Right? When their skin gets darker, it's just easier to see. Explain the eyebrows? What do you mean explain the eyebrows? What do you want me to explain? Do you need me to... Hang on a second. Explain the eyebrows. All right, hang on. 1 second. 1 second. Hang on. I think I know what you mean. Right? I think I know what you mean. No. Where is it? Here it is. This is what we're looking for. Okay. So the eyebrow is a section of hair above the eye, and it has thickness, peak, tail, length. It has arc height and inner corner. So this is, if you're not sure what eyebrows are, or I try to keep a straight face throughout that entire thing. I really did. What I wanted was like a medical. I wanted like a medical journal. Explain the eyebrows. Oh, all right. Explain the eyebrows. Have you ever watched Asmongold? Listen. Don't tell him I said this. This is probably the perfect time for me to say that I actually think Asmongold is a robot. I think many years ago, streaming too much got to him, and he had a robot invented so that he could take trips. You really can tell that he's like an animatronic sort of pre-programmed robot. Just watch his eyebrows. Nobody's eyebrows move like that, bro. If you watch old school Asmongold videos and you watch new Asmongold videos, it's very clear that he's a robot. So, I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that. I'm not trying to put him on blast, but, we want the real Asmongold back. Chat wants to nitpick so bad, they're making stuff up now. All right, well, if you're just tuning in, we're having a little bit of fun. The latest Starfield news is that the Starfield factions will behave more like Skyrim, and the quests that you find sort of in the open world, the settlements, the NPCs, will be dynamic in that they'll be random. They'll be placed in different spots than maybe in my game, and then the way that the quest flows out will be very different. So when you jump into Starfield gameplay, your experience will likely be very different than mine when you break from the main quests, giving it sort of a dynamic, emergent experience for your exploration. Your mainline questing won't do this, but your sort of exploration will. Does that make sense? So the way to think about this is that we're all sort of on a similar trajectory, but when we branch out from that trajectory, that's when you get into the more of the randomness and the differences, which I think could be very, very good. This is the second interview that they've done that's gotten me pretty excited about the game. The last one was about the Starfield dialogue systems that I thought looked very, very good. They need to make tagging names easier on mobile. Oh, we need a whole new chat interface on mobile. How are the Wiki Warriors going to adapt? Are the quests randomly generated or randomly placed? The way he explained it, he said this. This is his sort of conclusive statement. He said, it's a dynamically placed settlement taking you to a dynamically placed dungeon as you're walking through the planet. And it even sounded as if the quests they're going to give you will not always be the same. Right? Someone mentioned that, and apparently he said he had developed eye issues from looking at screens so much over the years. It's just some natural reflex. Robot sounds cooler, though. Yeah, I would. That all sounds like PR to me, Detective Seeds. You know, that sounds like PR, like a ready-made. You know, my eyes strain from looking at screen. I'm kidding around. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm trying to be funny. Oh my gosh. Whatever, you robot. Sounds pretty cool. Might solve the problem of the planets being too empty. Right. Well, some planets are definitely going to be empty, but you're going to know it before you land. They've made that pretty clear, right? We're going to get canceled again? Nah, you can't cancel me twice, man. Double jeopardy, right? Yeah, can't do that. Can't do it. Creature says, we? What you talking about, we? All right, guys, we have been live streaming for about an hour. If you just got here, we're typically doing sort of a discussion format like this, talking about Starfield. What do you think? Hit subscribe to contribute to the conversation. Subscribing is totally free. There are other ways to support the channel. You may have noticed for the last hour, you're not getting advertisements unless you're watching the past broadcast. When we are live, I am not running ads. A way to help continue that free delivery of content every day is to become a member. Every 25 members, I give 5 members back. So you can gift some to the community. You can jump in as your own. It's $5. If you can't afford a membership, just be here as often as you can. You might get a gifted one. It rewards people according to loyalty. Hitting like, chatting, subscribing, lurking, and listening in the background are all great ways of support, and it helps you maybe get one. Social Blade data breach. I don't have an account. I mean, I go and just check on my channels. I don't think I've ever logged in to Social Blade. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't have an account over there. Do you think a planet will be empty but have a chance to spawn a dynamic quest? Maybe after a certain amount of time on the planet? The way they described it, I don't think so. No. Good morning, Grim Reaper. I don't think it's like, oh, hey, make sure and check every planet. You know, there might be something there. Something might show up. I don't think so. The way he's talking about it is the placement of the settlements and the quests themselves are dynamic, meaning it's not the same. You're not going to have the exact same experience that I do. Yes, and some of the empty planets are going to be resource rich. So you'll know that planet's got nothing on it. No quests, no settlements, no people, but it's got a bunch of resources that I need. You'll be able to scan and you'll sort of know that the planets are resource rich. That's like a common thing. Here's another great sequence, I think, just to show off the good character design and just the clothing and the work that they put into this. Yeah, I think this is one of the elements of the game that's getting a little bit overlooked. Just her standing right there. One of the things I've been kind of excited about is to have like my own Star Trek experience, like adding to my ship as I travel, getting a crew. Yo, KRN Dragon just upgraded to Member Plus. If you guys that are at a Member Plus or higher, you'll periodically get sneak peeks or behind the scenes stuff. And I uploaded a behind-the-scenes thing, and I showed you guys how I do the Lego channel. I kind of showed you the setup there. So make sure and check out that video if you've recently upgraded to Plus or VIP. Hey, Jimiford just gifted a membership, and it went to Chainsaw. Welcome on in, Chainsaw. Thank you, Jimiford. Let's update. There it is, Chainsaw. Welcome on in. Let's go over here and update that. 6 out of 25. Thank you so much. I'll gift 5 if we hit that 25 goal. I seriously doubt anything spoiler-worthy falls under these systems. Yeah, I don't think so. You can't spoiler anything if each of these games go differently. Oh, yeah, I don't think so, Rockin' Robin. I think this all refers to, like, little side quests and stuff. Rescuing somebody from pirates. Finding lost loot. You know what I'm saying? I don't think any of this is spoiler territory. The main story, the main quest will be the same for basically everybody. Does that make sense? And I actually don't even think if that's going to be a big concern. I don't think like the story, I don't think the Starfield story is going to be in a position of like, oh no, you spoiled the outcome for me. Like, I don't think that's going to be a very common thing. I don't think its story is going to be that twist and turn and surprise laden. You know what I mean? I don't think so. Yeah. I love it. I love the different outfits. I hope there's lots of customization in the game. I also wonder how much the travel time is from planet to planet. If a faction comes under attack, will we actually be able to get there in time to save them? That fetch quest spoiled the ending. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Detective Seeds. If they like alert you like, hey, we're under attack, like how fast can you be there? Because they said they wanted to be like, they didn't want to go completely hard sci-fi. Because in one of the interviews, Todd Howard was like, we had it really restrictive early on, and you'd like run out of gas, and then you just couldn't go anywhere. And he was like, that just is not conducive to gameplay. Well, that's space travel, right? Well, oh no, I have a settlement that's under attack. Well, I'll be there in 7 days, and you get there and everyone's dead. That wouldn't be very enjoyable. So obviously there's going to have to be, loopholes in the hard sci-fi to say, oh, a settlement needs your help and is under attack or whatever, and you can be there momentarily, Warp drive, light speed mechanic, yeah, something like that, some kind of a fast travel. I don't think they're going to be like, well, let's plot our course, and it's going to take us 17 hours to get there. I don't think so. Not in the same way as people play. Oh, you guys are reading. You guys are discussing something else. Maybe you get the alert while on the planet that some pirates have just spawned. I just don't think so, Benjamin. The way that he described it, because he was basically doing an interview about Starfield factions and Starfield quests. And the way that he described it, as far as I gathered it, was the placement and the outcome. The placement and the outcome will be dynamic. It's not like if you spend enough time on this planet, something crazy might happen. Like, I didn't get the impression that that was what they were shooting for. It was more like your worlds, your universe will be different than mine in certain ways. Settlement placements, side quests, the way that they flow, etc. This isn't hard sci-fi, it's just dressed like it. Now, we were debating earlier in the stream, and we got to talking about mods, and we got to talking about some other things. And I question this. If a game like this comes out, and that's like the expectation, is like, oh, there should be multiplayer. Do you think that the era of the long-running single-player RPG, do you worry that that's like coming to an end? Is Starfield sort of a relic of a bygone era? Or do you think, I'm not saying single-player games, I'm saying long-tail single-player RPGs? Because, I mean, Hogwarts is in a similar vein in my mind. You can just dump hundreds of hours into that game. Right? Are these relics of a bygone era? Not single-player games. But you build this big, expansive world. It's an RPG. You can pour thousands of hours into it. And you're always by yourself. I have no interest in single-player RPG. It needs to be VR if I want to get into that world. I just wonder, is the industry, is the gaming community, are we moving past this? I don't think we are. But it starts to make me wonder, like, is this something that's losing its demand? And I'm going to draw a parallel. Yo, Zep, with a whole year, I absolutely do not worry about that. I miss the long single-player RPG experience with lots to discover. I often want to break from social interaction. Welcome back, my friend. Thank you. You think we're close to that peak, says Benjamin? Let me draw a parallel. stripped down arena shooters have kind of gone the way of the buffalo under the demand shift and the tide turn of battle royales and more tactical-based shooters like Valorant. Games like Quake, Unreal Tournament, these games don't seem to be in demand anymore. A handful of games that tried to come out in that vein have failed miserably. So that's kind of a bygone era. The birth of those games is why we enjoy so many of the games that we play today. But is that shift in the community? Do you see a similar shift happening with super long single player big RPGs? Victor says, those of us who grew up in the original Nintendo era, single player RPGs are generationally a thing we've been used to. I think the kids today are all about multiplayer and connections. There's a part of me that thinks that, Victor. There's a part of me that thinks that. Like, the tide shifted to Battle Royale, and it's like we can't go back. It's like nobody wants to. It's like, yeah. That was the birth of this genre, but no one wants to go back there. And when you look at games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and others that are dipping into live service, and then potentially in the future, multiplayer in these large, expansive worlds, instead of it being you just by yourself, is the massive open-world single-player RPG, is that becoming a bygone era? Are we leaving it behind? I'm not arguing that we should. I'm not arguing that it's happening. I get the sense that it might be. Our expectations are moving faster than what the devs can produce. And yes, multiplayer games is the future. Look at the world we live in. Online multiplayer games are the metaverse. Zubair says, is anyone making a good arena shooter? Halo was highly anticipated. It just didn't land the plane. Splitgate was crushing it, and its momentum died. Creature says, I think in the younger player bases, yes. I had to go to the office yesterday, and I realized that the only way I'm playing video games at all is because I'm remote most of the time. If that goes away, no big RPGs for me. Witcher 4, Mass Effect are coming, says Paul. Nope, unless they had co-op. You'd have to point to a franchise that has changed, like Fallout 76 and ESO. If you're after that side of things, Starfield will likely get a multiplayer game DLC made at some point. But does that prove the point? Does that prove the point? If they add a multiplayer DLC later, does that prove my point? That's no longer a single-player open-world RPG. It's now a multiplayer open-world RPG. Arena shooters have gone the way of the dodo. Right. Are big single-player RPGs going the same way? Are we staring at a relic? I didn't say single players going away. I didn't say that. I was very careful. I said, listen, I don't think single player games are going away. But when you build a game of this size and scope, it's massive, open world, and it's an RPG, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours of potential, and there's no multiplayer. Is this an old relic that many people are going to start to say, I want to play with my friends? The world is so interconnected now. Why is this generation different? I just stated it. The world is so automatically interconnected now. It is. Nice shirt. Thank you. It's another one from Into the AM. If you guys want to support me over there, you can use the shirt command in chat or go to intotheam.com/Lono. When we were growing up, the world was not nearly as interconnected as it is now. So what, in 10 years, it's just going to continue. I think the future we will see more single-player experiences with multiplayer endgames, if that makes sense. I don't think single-player goes away. I think it just hybridizes. Right, I'm not even talking about single-player as a concept, Wheezy. I'm talking about, in this genre, big open-world RPG. Is doing that in a single-player context, is that a relic of the past? The idea that you're going to insulate and play this game for hours and hours and hours by yourself. I don't know. I feel like the generation behind us is so automatically integrated with tech and the net and the online social square that's baked into their brain. And when something's not built in that way, it's like, what is this? What do you mean I play by myself? Do you see what I'm saying? You missed the first half. You and I were both PvP heavy players who aren't anymore. You can't predict someone's game taste based on their childhood preferences. I'm not saying childhood preferences, Eugene. I'm saying there is a culture shift in expectations. It's the way they interact socially that I think will have the effect. I think that in the future, 20 years from now, a game like Starfield without multiplayer will feel odd to people because they'll be like, what do you mean I can't play with other people? What the huh? I'm not talking about single-player games. I'm saying games that require this level of investment and progression and time, and it's so big. Younger people are all about hanging out with friends, and their game choices reflect that. As they get older, they will isolate more, and their game choices will reflect that. I don't know if that's true. I think sociologically, that's not a locked-in prediction. I don't think so. You have to remember that the way that we interacted with PvP games and video games was very, very different. Yes, you could play video games with your friends, but they had to come to your house and sit next to you to play GoldenEye, right? It was like coming over and watching a movie together. Now, what has happened to movie going and movie watching? It's completely shifted because of the nature of technology. So the nature of technology with video games is I can always play with somebody else. I can always be online. I can always connect to others. 21 months from Kat with a VIP. Looking forward to many more years to come. Thank you, Kat, very, very much. I appreciate that generosity. And thank you so much to Jimiford and Rock and Robin for the 6 members, getting us closer to the 25 goal for the day. Thank you to those who already gifted some members. That's a given. You settle. You have families, etc. That's a fact of life. Yes, and if you look at any of the studies, the generation behind isn't doing that. They're not doing that. They're jettisoning out from that idea that you settle and have a family. No. They are the people behind those of us that integrated tech into our life. Tech is integrated into their life at birth, and they are terminally connected. They're always online. They're always with people, right? To a certain degree. They're still settling? I don't know. I'm telling you, we can't really foresee what's going to happen. My prediction is that in the future, video games will have so much of a different experiential element to them that if you can't play with others, it's going to be, oh, well, that's a single-player game. There's going to be games in this valley of, it's an RPG, it's open world, it's this massive world. Why can't I play with other people? Why aren't there other people around? Think about it from this perspective. How many people go into a game like, I'm trying to think of an example. Here's a good example. How many people go into a game like Destiny and they see people in the tower and they see people running around the public spaces and they get match made for strikes and all of that, and they always are by themselves? We talked about this when we covered New World. There were so many people that went into New World and played by themselves. But there's people around. It emulates social connection. They're around other people. They can team up. They can interact. They can have a dynamic, emergent experience that is just totally random. In a maybe they're getting a PvP fight or something. Maybe they get invited to join a clan. I think that's getting baked into people's brains. How many people play Fortnite by themselves? How many times did we play Fortnite and it was obvious somebody was just solo queuing and squad filling, right? They're out there interacting with other people even though they're playing by themselves. So even in a game like Starfield, If it's not emulating and simulating social interaction, then people will say, well, why can't I play that game with other people? Why can't I play online? The world is switching to online. It is. This is obviously a bigger discussion if you want to get into like the singularity and predictions about tech advancements and, you know, what's on the horizon with like AI integration with the human brain and all of that. I'm telling you, the future is online. It just is. And I think if your game is not online, if there are not other people present, it will feel anomalous. It will feel odd. Where is everybody? Then you got to listen to Lono clearly. He isn't saying single-player games are going away. He's saying the preference is becoming more multiplayer shared world. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not describing the eradication of single-player games. I'm saying if I go into a game that has a world, that has a space to explore, I expect other people to be there. I'm not saying everybody. A lot of you are like, not for me. I'm solo all the way. I'm saying the general gamer population, this will be the expectation. Why is this game not online? Like, we balked. Just look at how fast gamer expectations changed. Track with me here. We balked and we mocked, and it hurt the launch of the Xbox One when they said it would need to always be online. Huh? What? Always online? That sounds stupid. And here we are. It's practically baked into everything that you touch. Always online. We mocked it and we jeered at it to the point that it hurt the launch of a console. And then fast forward, what, a decade? And now it's, yeah, everything's always online. What's the problem? Everybody has the internet. If you hate always online, if you hate online being a necessity, you have already become the minority. Like that. Just like that. Everyone was on your team a decade ago. Everyone was on your team. Always online. Get out of here, Microsoft. That's stupid. 10 years later. Ask anybody under the age of 20 about that, and they'll be like, what do you mean? What's the problem with being online all the time? My phone, my Switch, my Xbox, my iPad, everything's always online. What's the problem? What do you mean? Well, back in my day, like, you've already become the minority. Fast forward another 10 years. Aw, man, we don't need multiplayer in our RPGs and on our open world games. You're going to be the minority when you say that. Because everybody else is going to say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Every game is multiplayer. Every game has people around. Every game is socially integrated into my life. Even if they're not talking on a microphone, even if they're playing by themselves, again, it's going to emulate that social thing that they're not going out and doing in their real life. The always online was brought up because if I can't play a game when my internet is down, that should not be a thing. Right, sure, Butters, but if you are against always online, you're in the minority now. That's switching. Think about mobile gaming. Mobile gaming is always online for the most part. Their cell phone's always connected to the network. There's people around. Look at some of the most popular mobile games in the world, right? They're like MMOs on a phone. Look at where the money is going. That's where the developers are going to go. Zubair says, does multiplayer mean live service? Are you talking about co-op campaign? I'm talking about having something that is this large, an RPG, an open world, and it not being online with others around, it's going to feel defunct. It's going to feel anomalous in the future. It'll be like, what do you mean it's not online? People will look at that as an oddity. I'm not saying single-player games. Hear me out. I'm not saying single-player games. Games like God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man and I'm trying to think of single-player games that we know are coming. Hellblade. Games like that, I don't think people are going to look at those and be like, well, that's stupid. But I think the minute you blow the lid off and you're like, it's this big open world, it's an RPG, you're going to spend hundreds of hours here, and it's not online, will be like a record scratch. People are like, huh? What do you mean it's not online? That doesn't make any sense. Lono asks if today's generation is shifting to more connected world and preferring more connected games, and also asks if single-player RPGs are going to be a relic and a thing of the past. I agree with the first part and disagree with the second part. I don't know. I think the shift, the generational culture shift of interconnected worlds and interconnected psyches, and the way that people experience social interaction will drastically shape the future of games this size and games like this. It will. I think it will. We've only begun to see the impact of what tech's doing to our brains and what tech's doing to the world and the shaping of it. And I think video games are simply an offshoot of that. They're an expression of humanity. And as humanity changes, as culture and all these things change, so will our art. Look at the transformation that we've gone through with entertainment alone. You know, with sitcoms and comedies and movies, and it's all transformed. It's not what it used to be. It's very different. There is no reason why, if the demand is there, you couldn't have solo experience servers or areas where social things are turned off, but you can't go the other way. I wonder if this is at the sacrifice of telling well-crafted stories. There's a whole other topic here. So I was talking with a friend of mine who is a carpenter, and he'll get into houses, and the older the house, the better the craftsmanship. He talks about how he'll get into newer houses, and the craftsmanship is more shoddy and more sloppy. And he was sort of speaking to the awestruck nature of, man, these guys back then, they did all these things without all these really advanced tools. And it was like a bell went off in my brain. I was like, that sounds so similar to some of the conversations that I've had about video games. As technology has advanced, we've leaned so heavily on tech and special effects and automation that the love that you used to pour into storytelling and character development isn't there. The Star Wars prequels are a great example of this. It leans so heavily on tech advancements, let's wow people with special effects, that's all we need, and then the storytelling and the character development went into the dadgum toilet. So tech advancements, what tech advancements do is they lower the skill requirements to create. They do. Like, as tech advances and automates and does all these things, it's lowering the skill threshold of creation. I've always made this analogy. If you compare the comedic brilliance of K2SO in Rogue One to the comedic disaster of Jar Jar Binks, why are they so different? Because if you're going to make a droid funny, it has to be funny because you have nothing else. You have a robot walking around. There's no face. There's nothing. There's nothing you can do with it. It's why C-3PO was so funny, right? He had to be funny. You couldn't rely on slapstick and special effects and slipping on banana peels. You had to make him funny. You had to rely on comedic timing and writing. And if you look at video games in a similar way, as things get automated, as we talked about just a little bit ago, like the automation of interaction with NPCs, it lowers that like skill expression of crafted like facial animations and movement. It's not going to look like the stuff that we've seen in games like Callisto because it's all automated. As a tradesman, it always hurt my brain thinking about how construction worked before power tools. Yeah. I strongly disagree. Hang on, Zubair said something. I strongly disagree with the idea that things are fundamentally different. People have the same hopes, dreams, and emotions. It's the same stories. I don't disagree with that, Zubair, but I think the expression and the shape of those stories is changing. The expression and the shape of those stories is changing. It's not. It's the same undercurrent, but the way that it's crashing on the beach is entirely different. I just think there's stories only a single player experience can tell, and if that goes away, we'll never get that feeling in gaming again. Well, there's two things to this, Sven. If you love single player games, then my prediction shouldn't scare you. It should probably make you get excited. And let me explain what I mean. I think there'll be a clearer dividing line between single-player experiences and multiplayer experiences. There won't be these games in this weird middle where you're like, are you guys going to add multiplayer later? Like, that always is the question about some of these games. Do you think they'll add multiplayer later to Hogwarts? Do you think they'll add multiplayer later? Do you think there'll be Starfield multiplayer later? Well, why are they asking that? Because it's in this weird middle ground. It's not this super dramatic, character-driven, amazing story. It's kind of a build-your-own adventure. And people want to do that with somebody else these days. They want to take somebody else with them. They want to show that person their outpost, their character, their outfit, the gun they found, right? And so if you have a sharper divide where these super strong single-player games that are story-driven and they're cinematic and it's like a movie that you get to experience and impact, and then you have these multiplayer games, these online games, if that divide gets sharper, I would imagine the quality of both goes up. Because if you want to be a really successful single-player game, you're going to have to make a killer game. And if you want a really, really successful multiplayer sort of online social aspect game, it's going to have to be a killer game in that category. If multiplayer becomes a checkbox item, won't we get more ambiguity? No. Because to stand out, you have to be excellent. BRs are a great example of this. What happened in the sea of all those BRs that people tried to make? What happened? Excellence rose to the top. Mediocrity got drowned. And so now you have really good, really polished BRs. Why do you think Warzone's getting the treatment that it's getting? Why? Because people are coming from other BRs that are far more polished. They're like, what the frick is this? Why is this running so bad? Right? Expectations have risen. Expectations have risen. So they're coming to that game with expectations of excellence and it being polished and not being laggy garbage. I think single-player experiences lend themselves really well to indie devs. I think we're already seeing the rise of the indie dev. Yes. We're already seeing, I believe, the beginning stages of, what would we call that? The indie dev renaissance? I believe we're on the beginning early stages of that. We're in the early years of the indie renaissance. Like, this just explosion of not just indie games saturating the market, but indie games raising the quality of their trade. I think we're in the beginning stages of that. I think we'll look back and say, yeah, around the time that like Hades and Stray and some of these other games kind of took the world by storm, those were the early days of the indie revolution. I think the indie revolution happened 10 years ago. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like we're in the early stages of people being like, wait, what? Like they're kind of taking notice. You can see it in the Game Award nominations. It's the pendulum swinging back from what's been a very corporate period in game development. I 100% agree with that, yes. We're no longer seeing that publisher-dictated deadline crap shove. You're seeing a couple of games do that, and look how poorly treated they get. Look how poorly treated they get. It's less often now, but buddy, when it happens, those games get torched. They get torched. Isn't the indie dev renaissance also a consequence of the ease of access of these advanced tools for making games? Sinos, I wasn't saying that it was automatically a problem or a degradation. What I was saying is it just lowers the skill threshold. But what it does, as you're pointing out, is it broadens the horizon of possibilities of more people entering the development landscape and saying, I have a story to tell, and I've got a really creative idea, and now I can do it. It's more accessible. As these engines and dev tools and as technology advances, the creative monsoon that we're seeing is a result of that, for sure. Are you trying to say the audience is getting more sophisticated? That's a distinct idea from wanting always online gaming. I don't know if they're getting more sophisticated, Zubair. I think cultural expectations get baked in, and then they're sacred. No one questions right now having a cell phone. It's sacred. This is sacred to you. This is baked into your day-to-day life. If someone took this from you, what am I going to do? Right? It's a cultural baked-in expectation. That's a way that you interact with the world now. I grew up didn't have that. If I wanted to get a hold of my friend, it was not nearly as easy. I didn't always have it in my pocket. Who was the actor in that movie? We would just spend the rest of the day not knowing. I don't know. Now, give me a second. Pull up IMDb. So, if that baked-in expectation changes the way that I interact with the world, it changes the way I interact with music, other people, movies. The interconnectedness that's getting baked into the next generation, that interconnectedness will create assumptions and presumptions about technology and gaming experiences that will be, why is it not online? Why can I not play this with my friends? And if you want to say, well, later in life, people don't do that as much because they settle down and they get married. If the average age of gamers is 28 and up, and the most popular games in the world are multiplayer games and MMORPGs, then that doesn't line up. Oh yeah, people get older and they tend not to play multiplayer games as much. None of the trends point to this. All the trends point to quite the contrary. The most popular games in the world are connected, online. I think that's a gross generalization. What's a gross generalization? Social aspects come on a big spectrum, not so binary. Soulsborns are single-player games, but even if you don't PvP, seeing the shadows and messages of other people make the game much more enjoyable. Quick addition from what I was alluding to earlier. The younger waves of gamers will be drawn to online-style games as it's what they know, how they were introduced to gaming, and it's just their culture. But as long as there are gamers from our era who grew up on Zelda, those games will always have a place and will serve as a break from the norm, or almost as a novelty. I can see single-player titles becoming more and more niche in the next 5 to 10 years. I think I'm with Corey. This is too reductionist. I'm not being reductionist about anything. I'm speaking in really, really broad terms and potential realities. I'm not being reductionist. Like, reducing everything I said to saying it's a gross generalization and reductionist is ironically grossly generalizing and reductionist. I'm not being reductionist at all. The integration of tech affects the way that you interact with culture. This is a very reasonable axiom to build upon. And tech integration for the generation behind us is so socially online baked that will have an effect on that generation's expectations of gaming and entertainment. It will. I understand what Lono's saying. He's being open and vague, not reduction. Yeah, I'm not reducing anything down to like one thing or like a simple explanation. I'm being pretty broad here. Like, just the way that watching movies changed because of one moment in history. You can now there's like watch party apps and stuff. That's a new thing that didn't exist 5 years ago. And now it's commonplace. Now it's baked into Disney Plus. I'm hearing kids like to be online, so games will need to be online. Like I said, you're being ironically reductionist. I'm not saying that. I didn't say kids like to be online, so games will need to be online. I've said multiple times now that single-player games will not go away. They won't. But games of this size and of this nature, they will feel odd if there's no online aspect. because of the fact that it's sort of emulating this open space, this long tail RPG of investment. Their expectation would be, I want to do that with my friends. Why would I, like, they're not going to come to a, I've not yet said that the generation behind is going to come to a single player game and say, why is this not online? That's not what I've been saying. Games of this size and scope will be odd if there's no online element, because it does something different than just tell a story. I even said there'll be a sharper divide between single-player and multiplayer games, because if you really want an excellent single-player game that tells a story, has great characters and voice acting, like, look at what they did in Callisto. Like, imagine characters always looking like that in video games. That's coming, right? In 15 years, every game you play that goes for photorealism, the characters are going to look like what they look like in Callisto Protocol. They're going to look realistic. Well, that's going to make single-player games more immersive. It's going to feel like you're literally playing through a Netflix show or something. But when you play this open-ended RPG, thousands of hours, hundreds of hours, it's an open world, and you're in this place, and you're doing all these things, and it's not this super linear, story-driven, character-driven thing, I think people are going to look at a game like that and say, man, that's a game I want to play with my friends, because it's of a different substance. It has a different essence to it. Why? Because you're in the game. When I play through God of War Ragnarok, I'm making Kratos do stuff. I'm watching Kratos have an interaction with his son. But when I go into a game like Starfield, I am in the game. And the minute I integrate at that level, I'm going to expect social elements if I'm from the if I'm from the generation behind me. That's the point that I'm making. Once they're integrated, once they're in the game, I think it completely changes the landscape of expectations. I'm in the game. I'm in the game. My friends are in the game. I want to go play with them. It's not, oh yeah, that game was awesome, Kratos is dope. It's, I'm in this game, bro. I got loot. I changed my character. I made choices. I chose these dialogue options. I'm granting that you aren't saying single-player games go away. I'll stipulate that you are only talking about large open-world RPGs like Starfield. Let me make it even more simplistic. Instead of making it like about open-world RPGs, it's about games that you put yourself into them. And I think that's RPGs in general. RPGs in general, like, I'm putting myself in the game. And I'm telling you, that cultural expectation of, man, if I'm in this game, if I'm crafting my own experience, if I'm crafting my own character, my own story and journey, where's everybody else? Where's everybody else that's doing this? Think about the vanity of social media and taking pictures of your food and your outfit, and the explosion of apps where you record yourself doing stuff and being seen and being lauded, praised, liked, retweeted, okay? That is getting baked into the social and tech expectations of that generation of, like, I'm connected to other people. That the vanity of our human nature of, I want people to see how happy I am, how great my outfit is, how wonderful my trip was. I'm telling you, that's going to get baked into the crust of the presumptions and the assumptions of gamers that approach games where I'm in the game. I'm not moving around Aloy or Kratos. I'm in the game. Where's all my buds? Where's all my friends? Where are the people? That's what I'm saying. I think that's the trajectory for game types like this. The point of I'm in the game is singular to your experience. I play a game like Starfield and never project myself into the game. I would say you're the minority. I think one of the primary reasons that RPGs are so popular is because of that immersion point. The immersion point and the brain tetheredness of the game of, I'm in there, I'm getting stuff, I'm experiencing these things. Yeah. I think that's why RPGs are so popular. Because we get to escape and be the hero. We get to see ourselves as the valiant warrior, as the strong fill in the blank. I think that's why they're so popular. Why can't we play together is not a question you would ask about God of War, but you would wonder about Starfield. Yeah. This has been a really fun discussion that I did not plan on having. I was recently listening to an episode. I launched that podcast with Andrew Schwab. If you guys are familiar with Project 86, they're actually releasing a new single today from their new album, and he and I have become friends, and we're doing this podcast. And we recently published an episode called Can Tech Go Too Far? Like, questioning the idea of, like, you know, human integration and with AI and tech advancements and the singularity and all that. It was a really, really fun episode. And I was listening this morning trying to find shorts, and it just got my brain buzzing about this. And I looked at Starfield, and I looked at what Kratos was saying, and I thought, why would somebody feel that? Why would somebody think, well, this game is dead on arrival for me if I can't play with other people? That is a sharp line in the sand. And I don't think he's the first or last person to draw that line. When they look at RPGs of this scope and size, I think more and more people are going to start to say, I expect to play with other people in a game like this because I'm putting myself into the game, and I don't want to put myself into a game and interact with a bunch of NPCs. It's called role play for a reason. Did I hear correctly? You said the band Project 86? Yes. Yeah, Project 86 is launching a single today. Metatropolis is the name of the song. It is phenomenal, so make sure and look for the music video. He and I launched a podcast together called Ceasefire. If you want to support it, we prefer you to support the Patreon. The YouTube channel, great, fine, awesome, but we'd rather you go to ceasefirepodcast.com and support us there. We get into pretty serious stuff, and it's not gaming related. Today, what I was listening to was, but most of what we get into is not something you're necessarily going to want in your YouTube algorithm. Random, but VR is the future. People want more. My buddy won't play anything other than VR. You really need to watch Lex Friedman if you want to get some discussions about AI tech, his Todd Howard interview. Yeah, we have a follow-up episode. Me and Andrew, Can Tech Go Too Far? We react to Lex Friedman interviewing a guy about how he thinks that AI will be integrated with the human brain by in the 2030s. And so we react to that. That's our follow-up episode. I was a huge fan of them in high school. They're great. They're awesome. Their new album is insanely heavy compared to their music up to now. Very, very heavy. I think there's something, there's obvious, this could get a little bit out in the weeds, so I don't want to go out in the weeds, so I'm going to stay here, but I do think there's something innately baked into us that wants to leave this place, and I think video games, fantasy novels, plays, movies, these are all expressions of that desire to not be here, and I think VR and Ready Player One are predictions about that. VR is not just tech, by the way. VR is a prediction about the future. That humans will continue to want to leave and escape where they are and just go somewhere else. And that's why VR and Ready Player One are, I think, just whispers of what things will look like 100 years from now. Half the stuff we do now is touched by AI. Are you talking hardware built into our brains? Yes, Zubair. Yeah. We entertain questions in the most recent episode. You got to pay to get to these segments because they're pretty serious. We entertain questions like, can someone have a relationship with an AI, like in the movie Her or like in Lars and the Real Girl? Like, can you have a relationship with an inanimate object? What about integrating AI into your brain? What about augmenting your body? You know, like what Cyberpunk imagined people will be doing in the future. You know, like almost like a dark dystopian, high-tech, low-life existence. So we get into those philosophical questions of should that be something that's done. We actually referenced Star Trek. I referenced Star Trek quite a bit in that episode. Put my money down on augmented reality. Yeah, augmented reality. Sure. Yeah. Guys, could we get some likes? And could we get some gifted members? And could we get some chat activities from some people who might be sitting on the sidelines? Let us know that you're here. Say good morning. Let us know that you're lurking. Thanks so much for enjoying the show. Subscriptions and likes are free. Memberships obviously help us do what we do every day. I'm not running ads. You may have noticed that. So if you've been enjoying the conversation, I also keep things safe for work. There are great ways to support and keep things going here. I am on Top Chat. Oh my gosh, what a freaking loser I am. Once VR is appealing to the mainstream, it will become a standard as the phone. Like once it's a pair of glasses or brain integration. Yeah. Metatropolis is out. Okay. Metatropolis did get pushed out. Okay, cool. They had been promoting it quite a bit. I really hope they give a proper 2 weeks to review Starfield. Imagine being on Top Chat this whole time, right? Now, wow, never could be me. A 2-month membership milestone for Lone Wolf. Thank you very much. Just hopped on this stream a few minutes ago. What'd I miss? How'd we get to talking about this? Okay, so the latest Starfield news was about factions and about quests. And I can give you a too long didn't read if you just got here. Show me some appreciation by smacking all the buttons while I give you this too long didn't read summary. You can always rewind if you ever get here late, and my show open is everything that you're looking for, okay? But I'm going to save you the trouble right now. There was an interview with one of the, I believe he's the lead designer. Let me get you the exact title here. He is lead designer Will Shen, and he was fielding questions, and this is on the official Bethesda YouTube channel. He was fielding questions about quests and about factions. And factions will be more like Skyrim in that you can join them all. You can't, you're not like limited. And there will be far-reaching ramifications and implications of the decisions and things that you do within that faction. It'll be more like Skyrim and less like Fallout. And then the quests that you find out in the open world will be dynamic. We don't know exactly what this means, but we're speculating because he said the settlements will be placed dynamically on the planet, and then as you accept the quest, it will dynamically play out. Now, what that means is there are parameters. So, hey, we built a settlement, and in your game, it might land here on the planet, and in my game, it might land over here, so it's not identical experiences. Now, once we accept the quests, that also could be dynamic within certain parameters. Maybe you're saving somebody from pirates, and maybe I'm finding a lost loot cache. But we're still doing a side quest on a planet and helping a settlement. So Starfield gameplay is continuing to get details about the dialogue systems, the factions, and the quests. So that's your too long didn't read about sort of the intro. Now, the reason we got on, tech integration and online and the expectations of the generation behind us, the reason that we got on that subject was because one of our community members, Kratos, was just like, this game's DOA. It's dead on arrival because I can't play with my friends. And I just started making predictions about how I think in the future, 10 years from now, most RPG games of this size and scope will seem odd if there's no multiplayer aspect. And as we fleshed out the argument, disagreement, and discussion, I essentially said that a game where you put yourself into the game is one that the generation behind us will say, I expect to do that and there to be other people around. Because it's similar and analogous to the way that they have just automatically integrated into the social spaces and the social apps that some of us use to lesser and greater degrees depending on how old you are.
What I'm not saying is, oh, the cessation of single-player games. I'm not saying that. Single-player games where you play as, Lara Croft or Kratos or Senua. Like, there's a lead character and a story and narrative and great, great script writing and all that. I think those games will continue and probably they will rise in quality. But I think games where there isn't a lead character, where you're the lead character, and it's this RPG with this world to explore, experience, and level and progress through, I think those games will start to feel like an oddity if there is no online elements. You're going to want people around. Not you. The culture shift in the gaming world, I think, is shifting toward that. So, my words, PlayStation VR is fail. You'll see. I don't know. I think that's a weird prediction to make. I think VR is going to continue to carve out its space in the market. I think it's going to be a slow challenge because they got to convince people to wear something, and I think that's challenge. I think that's a challenge for people. You haven't seen any Hellblade 2 news? Yeah, they've gone kind of quiet. Also, guys, remember, if you're here on a regular basis, you can use the ! Allow gifts command. Make sure you have that toggle to on, so when people do the gifting, you will get them. It's based on how often you're here. Smashing the like button. All those things. This and VR, if that works, you have a huge company. Yeah, Teddy, it's hard to decipher what they're saying some of the times. It could be a language barrier. There's about to be more VR sets in America than Xbox, so who's the fail? Stop it. 512 Design, I play 6-hour session on the weekends, man. Please talk to people about it. Don't go off your single experience. Yeah, I think PlayStation VR has a lot of potential. I think VR has a lot of potential. I do. The way that they market it and get better market share, I think is always going to be a bit of a challenge. You got to convince people to wear something, buy extra equipment. What if you get motion sensitive? I think it's always going to be a challenge, but I don't think it's dead or dead on arrival. I think it's in its early stages. All tech goes through the early stages and the birth pangs of pioneering the new, right? I think that's pretty common. Pretty common. Thing is at 1, and if we could stretch for 45, we have a lot more people to take to that Diablo dev stream, but I don't know if we can stretch. We just hit 2 hours on this topic. I feel like we've hit it. I think VR is too much for normal people. It's like buying a console. I think minor augmented stuff will grow. It's more like bite-sized mobile games, assuming no massive change in hardware. Yeah. All right, I'm going to give you guys one last chance to rub the paddles together and get us back on this topic. If it doesn't work, I've got other things we can do, all right? I want to know how many of you at this point, when you hear about the dialogue options, you hear about the factions, and you hear about the quests, okay? Creature said to me last night on the phone, he feels like the dialogue is shifting. They're no longer talking about Starfield as this generational defining game. It's no longer going to be like the game that defines future games. He's like, now they're making comparisons to like, well, yeah, it's not going to be like Fallout. It's going to be like Skyrim, right? It's not going to be like this. It's going to be like that. He feels like around the time that Microsoft's dialogue around Game Pass shifted, he feels like the dialogue around Starfield shifted. Do you feel like they're starting to like lower expectations for this game? Like, Starfield gameplay is going to be good, but they're starting to lower the hype and the expectations and how they talk about it. Do you think that that's happening? Because I don't get that feeling. I get the feeling that they're getting to the details, and it's hard to hype up details. It's difficult to make the Starfield dialogue system exciting. Like, it's difficult to be like, factions are going to be crazy. I don't think you can talk about those things at that level. You forgot the companion part? What companion part did I forget? What are you talking about? Victor says, no doubt they want to lower expectations. See Halo Infinite. How is that a lower expectation? Skyrim is a way bigger game than any of the Fallout games. Lower says no, Teddy, but they are giving you a comparison to set an expectation. I feel like they're being a bit cautious compared to their other games, but they're still hyping it up. Yeah, from where I sit, I feel like they're getting into the details. Like, this is the meat, this is the potatoes, this is the details and the scaffolding of what Starfield gameplay is going to feel like. And I don't think you can make that super exciting. You can't use like big grandiose hyperbolic language when you're going through and showing the dialogue tree options. You can't be like exaggeratory and hype about how the tech system behind the Starfield quests is going to work. Even comparing, even with the Starfield factions being like, well, yeah, they're going to be like Skyrim and not as much like Fallout. I don't even think that is like a tempering of expectations. I feel like that's maybe raising them. The minute you mention Skyrim, I kind of agree with what was said by Lone Wolf. And the minute you mention Skyrim, bro, you're talking. That's big talk. You're mentioning one of the gold standard games. I agree. Not confident for Starfield, says SDO. Bethesda's gone quiet. The competition in AAA next year is huge. Diablo 4, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy. He did talk about going back to the old neighborhood, going back to settle Mars, and finding out what happens to Earth. Did you talk about companions? No, I didn't talk about companions. I thought the questing and I thought the factions was more interesting. But Lono, why would they start dumbing down into tech specs right after using words like redefining and generational? I don't know if they've used those words in a long time, though. I feel like they talked about that in the early stages, and a lot of that's almost like proof of concept. Like, this is what we're doing. Let's get everybody's attention and get everybody excited. But then when you have to get into the details of the actual game, you can't really do that. You can't be like, we're redefining what the dialogue system's going to be. It's like, well, no, we're expanding it, making it different. Here's how it's going to play out. Here's how we're improving it and giving you more freedom. We increase the quantity of the dialogue lines in the game significantly compared to our other games. I prefer it to be more like Skyrim than Fallout anyway, by a long mile. Oh yeah, I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. I wonder if they will deliberately try to lower the profile after what we learned recently. What are you talking about, Sinos? Show us something redefining generational, not tech specs. Well, and if I'm Bethesda and I delayed my game, I would do that much closer to the Starfield release date, Creature. I don't think right now is the time to do that. I actually think their rhythm of speaking to us is fine. Their lack of hype and like, oh my gosh, like, I actually don't think that's worrisome. I think, no, they're going to be doing that 2 to 3 months before the game comes out. There'll be a ramp up in, holy moly, right? I could be being judgmental, but it seems they are really trying to downplay this title after positioning it as something that could replace Halo as the flagship. I thought companions were interesting. They were talking like they can make their own choices if you send them out to do quests and missions. Yeah, I didn't think there was as much there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think there was as much there. There are a lot of interesting stuff with the companions. He said you could order a companion to talk to for you, and there could be consequences to it. Yeah, I mean, that actually is cool. You're right. I forgot to mention that. I thought like sending the companion off to do stuff for you wasn't that interesting. That's not like experiential, like here's what a quest's gonna do dynamically. Here's how factions are more like Skyrim. Those felt like bigger bullet points to me. You're not wrong though. Having a companion do stuff for you that will have consequences, that could be pretty cool. There could be some really cool things done on YouTube with that. Like, hey, I'm going to let my companion literally do everything for me, and they're going to talk for me everywhere I go, you know, and we're just going to see what happens. You know what I'm saying? There, that is pretty interesting. I wish I would have included that in the show open. Sometimes in my show open, I have to be careful because when we did the big show open the other day for Diablo, I spoke for probably 15 minutes before like addressing chat. So sometimes I don't like to do like an info knowledge dump that's too much. Like I don't want the show open to be drinking from a fire hose. So I chose what I thought were like the two best things broken into two parts in the show open and just kind of left it at that. That part's going to be interesting. It might make me hate a follower if they make a dumb choice or love another if they make a great one. Yeah, almost adding an RNG element to your gameplay experience of like, well, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm going to have my my Starfield companion here. They're gonna talk for me, and it's just like total RNG. You know, they open fire. They're like, I'll tell you what. Pull their gun out. And you're like, I thought this was a peacekeeping mission. All right. You know, you start shooting everybody. If they kept typing right now, they'd create too much hype, and people would be completely let down by anything less than mind-blowing perfection. Yeah, I tend to think that now's the time to give us the information. Get down into the details. Give me the nitty-gritty. Give me the bullet points. Let me know what's going on. I actually like how they're letting us know how these individual systems are going to behave and work. And then when you're 2 or 3 months out from the game, yeah, now you can start to rev up the hype engine. What you're describing is a push towards MMOs, since MMOs largely occupy that large open world multiplayer game space. Holy wow, are you trying to rewind? Like what? We have not been talking about that for a long time. I'm getting hyped now. I got to temper my expectations. Going head-to-head with SIE on single-player games will be very challenging. Behemoth seems like interesting. Yeah, maybe. No, there is no Starfield release date, yes. Yet, none. That would be hilarious. You leave your companion to negotiate with the main character. You go do some shopping. You come back and everyone's killing each other. You're like, what did you do? I'm certainly not trying to turn anyone on the game, just the narrative seems different to me. I think it's difficult, Creature, to not look at Bethesda through the lens of what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft suddenly starts trying to downplay themselves, right? Oh, you know, this acquisition's fair because they have more, they have more exclusives than us. Oh, you know, Xbox Game Pass is only going to be 15% of our overall gaming revenue. You know, they win by keeping us small. And then we're seeing... If you look through that lens at Starfield and Bethesda, it's like, man, you guys are really trying to downplay your property all of a sudden. If you don't look at them through that lens, it very well could be that these were planned videos and blogs and detailed segments that they're now just trickling out. I don't think they just suddenly started filming these and saying, oh yeah, let's give all these people all this information and all these details and let's really try to temper expectations. I feel like a lot of this was already planned and filmed and built. Not to go too far off the rails, but is Starfield being fabled? No, I don't think it's being fabled. I think if you look at what's going on, we have a video. We should probably run that video today. So we can let the Lords of the Fallen video run over the weekend that I haven't done yet. But the situation with Fable is not related because Bethesda's building this in their own engine. We're running it today. Okay, good. I was hoping that we did. That video is fire. I was so pleased with how that turned out. I was just on it. I have a video coming later today about the Fable situation, and I take Microsoft to task in that video. You're going to want to see that. That'll be uploaded later. So we're whetting your appetite. We've been doing uploads. Sometimes they'll hit frequently. Sometimes they'll hit, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes we'll space them out. Sometimes we won't space them out. Just set your expectations that it won't always be an upload a day. And we certainly aren't going to be doing stuff on the weekends. We typically are the Monday through Friday channel. Don't be too mean. I'm not mean. I'm just on it. Maybe tampering down people's expectations, but gamers are absolutely correct to have high expectations. From the way that they describe the essence of this game, we should expect high quality. I think I agree with you. I think we should expect a lot from Starfield. I do. Bro, please shout out my name. All right, hang on. Yes, but is that concrete information about Microsoft not letting them use their own engine? Well, you'll have to watch that video later. You have to watch that video later. We're not talking about Fable, but I don't think that Starfield is in a weird spot, bad spot, or struggling because of something with their engine. They chose to use this engine. They're super familiar with this engine. The modding community loves this engine because it's very, very expansive and modifiable, right? It's good. It's a good little engine, okay? I actually think their engine has quite a bit of quality, okay? But I think we're primarily dealing with optimization. I continue to think that's what's going on. I think we're dealing with optimization. I think Starfield is going to absolutely struggle to run well on the Series S. I think it's going to run fine on PC. I think the modding community is going to love it on PC. There's going to be 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about mods in Starfield. We're going to be talking about some mod that came out, Starfield mods will be just, I think, a staple. I think a staple of that game. And I think from everything we've seen in the scope of the project, I think Starfield gameplay is going to struggle to run well on the Series S. And I think that's primarily what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with optimization. They're trying to figure out how to get a game that's all about big, wide open spaces and horizons and just volumetric fog and render this and, draw that and frame rate. I don't know. We've talked about this before. The Starfield 30 FPS thing. I reacted to Doc Dark's video, and he said, don't you dare release Starfield at $70 and have it be locked at 30 FPS. Right? Don't you dare. They've not mentioned transmog, Sven. I don't think so. And I think that's a concern right now. Starfield Game of the Year? No, I don't think so. It'll probably get a nomination, but I don't think it'll be able to win. Got a lot of competition next year. A lot of big games coming out next year. We should expect games to rival the greats from this and next year. Sorry, but the hype was real, and this is meant to be a Game of the Year contender. Yeah, it's meant to be a Game of the Year contender. I could see it getting nominated. I don't see it winning. I wonder what his take will be when it's 30 FPS on the S. He loves the S. I really want to do a video or an episode with him about that. What Game of the Year we were talking about yesterday? Yeah, we were talking about whether or not Hogwarts would even get a nomination. You saw the Lex Friedman episode. Todd said he would sacrifice frames for vision. Yes, and I'm on record as saying that if Starfield's 30 FPS, I won't play it. Or at the very least, I'll have to play it on PC. I would much rather play Starfield on my Xbox, on my Xbox Series X. But yeah, I'll have to play it on my PC if the PC is the only place I can get 60 FPS. Black Myth Game of the Year 2023 if it releases on time. Black Myth will not release next year, bet. I would put cash money on the table right now that Black Myth Wukong does not launch next year. No way. No. People really think 60 FPS will be achieved on the S. That seems like a stretch. I don't think people are thinking that it'll achieve 60 FPS. I think people are assuming that it'll run quote-unquote fine. And if everything we've seen recently about how games run over there, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's going to run at a dynamic 1080. It's going to struggle to do that. It's going to dip into the 960s. And I think it's going to struggle to maintain 30 FPS. What is the argument for picking console over PC if available? Ease of use, consistent FPS, I can see that. Yeah, I just prefer to play on console now. I don't like playing PC games. I don't. I hate that entire ecosystem. I do. I love Steam. I love how many games are on Steam. I love how many cool little games I can try out and run demos and show you guys stuff. But I hate the PC ecosystem because there's always something buggy, glitchy, driver this, driver that, crash that. No, boot the game up and let me frickin' play, man. I am grumpy old man when it comes to video games now. Work or get the frick out of my face. Like, that's my attitude. Work. And I don't have to, I just rarely have to deal with that. That's why my tolerance has just gone so low now. Like when a game launches on console and has problems, like I was ready to eviscerate High on Life. I was ready to. Because people were like, oh yeah, there's all sorts of frame stutters and frame problems. I'm like, again? Another game? Again? And they pushed out a day one patch and it ran totally fine. It ran totally fine. This whole thing of like installing a game on a next-gen console and it's like I'm trying to turn a semi with bad alignment. Get out of my face. Take my money and work or leave. It's that simple. Like, I approach games with a lot more of a simplistic attitude now, and I just can't stand the PC ecosystem because I feel like every time I get into a PC game, it's like VSync's not working right, or I've got screen tearing this, or oh yeah, you got to update your drivers, or oh yeah, they're trying to push out a patch for this. No, yuck. No, thank you. Turn a semi with bad alignment. Where do these analogies come from? I don't know. I was just picturing something really big and heavy, like almost shaking as you turn it. I'm telling you. I'm 41 years old, and I am officially like grumpy old man status when it comes to video games and technology. Work or get the frick out of my face. Like, I will more quickly throw something away and replace it than like try to fix it. Like if a PC rig starts messing up, like I take it to a local shop and they're great and I have them fix it. But if certain things get to a certain point, I'm like, get out of here. I'll just replace you. I just can't deal with it. My brain just hits like red level. Like this autofocus thing on my camera that's been driving me crazy. It took restraint this morning to not unplug it and throw it against the wall and be like, yeah, we're going back to single cam for the time being. You know, it took restraint to not do that. It's like, I want to destroy you because you're not working. And I always feel like in the PC ecosystem, I'm dealing with that. I don't have that problem on my PC. Oh, good for you, man. Good for you. Can't do it. Can't. There's more than enough content to take up your time, so it either works or I abandon it. See, I hate for you for being in your 40s and looking like your 20s. I'm in my 30s. I look like I'm in my 50s. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, that's one of the challenges with games like this. Like, if Starfield comes out and he is really bad and bug-riddled, you know what people are going to say? There's plenty of other games to play. I'm out of here. Plenty of other games. Like, I don't think people put up with it as much. We have a Call of Duty video that's just going crazy about player exodus, and they're all saying the same thing. They're either talking about skill-based matchmaking, game crashes, or game quality. Why? Because they expected greatness, and they didn't get it. And you know what a lot of people said in the comment section? Do you know what a lot of them said? There's too many good games out right now to put up with this crap. And they're right. There's too many. Why am I going to piddle around with your nonsense when I can go play something else? And that is the challenge. Because Starfield is not just releasing now later than originally planned. The Starfield release date is coinciding with a Starfield price increase. So $70 and a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of games and a whole bunch of possibilities. And if it runs bad, people are going to say, get out of my face. I don't have time for this. That's why when iPhone with Android, you can flash a custom ROM. Yeah, but I don't wanna. I just want to check my email, right? That's why I love my PlayStation. I don't have to deal with all that. Yeah, I can't do the PC environment. Sure, Starfield's still 2023. I think Starfield release date is late 2023. I think it is. I don't think we're getting it first half of 2023 like they promised. I don't. I don't think so. They promised first half of 2023. I don't see it happening. Action arcade shooter coming to Steam on December the 20th called Ricky Recharge. Oh, this game looks really cool. High focused arcade game. A single game will last 5 to 20 minutes. What? Oh, try to achieve a high score. I don't like games like that. I'd rather play a rogue than a high score game. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that one. I can't do that. I can't do the high score thing. Try again. Try again. I can't do it. It looks like a really cool game, though. I have got to... We'll do Thursday Throwdown after the Diablo stream. I promise you guys today we will actually do that. We didn't do a member stream yesterday because we got to the end of everything. We just didn't. I'm going to schedule the Diablo stream now because we'll go over there around 12:30 to wait for it. We almost went to members early today, but this stream kind of turned itself around and we had a good conversation. But I got to schedule this. So don't go anywhere. We're not shutting down or anything. I'm just getting the next thing ready. There's a Diablo dev stream today. Oh, we still haven't made one yet. We need to make a Diablo 4 news playlist. We will do that soon. We have a Starfield news playlist that you can use, like all the latest Starfield news. If you want to go back and watch any of our old broadcasts, anytime there's been a Starfield update or like a Starfield interview, we cover it, and that is in that playlist. And so we appreciate you guys being here and supporting everything and just being awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do. Yeah. We got to sit down and address all the playlists. Yeah. We'll do it all in one swing for sure. What did I miss? We've been discussing Starfield's price increase, the Starfield release date. When do you guys think that the Starfield release date will land? I'm telling you, I think it's late next year. Out of pocket, sir. Mo, I see your comments. What's Mo saying? What time is the stream? We'll go 12:30. It's at 1 o'clock, so we'll do like a 30-minute run up to it. Sven says July, August. Your arguments for console are still true if that's the case. It's just with all the buggy games, PC actually just is the lower effort, more comfortable experience. I said it a second ago, right before the holidays next year. Eugene says October-ish. Oh, Mo on the Call of Duty Plus video selling snake oil. Yeah, I responded to one of his comments. Playlist that now moved to the content page. What? Oh, yeah. There they are. We got the update today. Create a new playlist. A new post, go live, or upload videos. Yeah, they just pushed out the update on our channel, Creature. On the back end for playlists. Yep. Gotta make room to address that. They did it at 3 a.m. Mine just did it. Mine wasn't updated until just now. I was poking around this morning getting everything ready, and it didn't look like that. So it has been changed. 3/3/23, says Joker. You think March? No. No, Matt Booty was on a podcast and basically said that Redfall's coming first. So, no, I don't think so. March for Redfall. I'm sorry, March for Starfield's not happening. No way. Absolutely not. Matt Booty. I tell you what we should do. We should keep talking Starfield, and then those of you that are not members, we will be doing a Thursday Throwdown today for members. And I want to check out some of these games, man. There's some good games coming out. Crack Pet Show just released today. It might be funny. I like to show off trailers on Tuesdays to members, and then Thursdays I do a Thursday Throwdown. So let's try and hit that goal over there. Get some new folks in here. Mo says June. You think June, so they're going to try to stick to the first half of the year commitment. So during the Xbox Bethesda showcase, they said like everything we've talked about and shown in this stream will be launching in the next 12 months, which if you look at any of the dialogue around Starfield, they're even saying, oh yeah, it'll be in the first half of 2023. Some of the dialogue even said early 2023. My 4-year-old nephew loves the word booty. He's all about it. Just randomly will say booty, booty, booty. I'm so proud of him. Yeah, my son likes to say poots and pooties. Like, he'll just be saying it. I'm like, buddy, you're not even saying anything. You're not even saying anything. I will do a call and answer. Nothing like a grown man yelling booty across the house. Yeah, you just yell it back to him. Booty! Hope all is well. What's good, Dark Taco? My niece calls my sister Karen now. I love it. Who doesn't love booty, am I right? That's right. I was thinking about Wiggles McBooty the other day, and it just made me laugh. Not because I think it's funny, but because Zubair has indicated that like it periodically will make him laugh. Knowing that made me laugh. My son saying Wiggles McBooty. I think the Bethesda games are a less mainstream series of games, and they probably know a lot of their consumers play on PC, so console becomes an afterthought. I actually think Bethesda games are pretty popular and pretty mainstream. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I don't know. I can't contest where their audience hangs out. I don't know if that's where their audience hangs out is like PC. I just randomly giggle. It might be the silliest thing I've ever heard. Bethesda not mainstream. Skyrim is one of the best-selling games ever. Yeah, I feel like Bethesda games are very mainstream, very well known, and very popular. Oh, come on. Giggling now. Wiggles McBooty and Butt McStuffins. My son came up with some really great names. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that Bethesda's not mainstream. Bethesda's pretty mainstream. You know? You're going to call them niche now? Yeah. And I don't know if that's true if most of their audience hangs out on PC. I mean, they obviously have a very loyal, I would say loyal, almost cult-like following on PC because of the modding community. Calm down, farmhand. There was a third one, too. Yeah, hang on. Where is it? I don't understand. Search. It should be in my phone. All right, hang on. I never remember it. I have them all listed in my phone. Okay, so it's Boing Boing Butt, Wiggles McBooty, Butt McStuffin, and Toot Toot McSpress. Toot Toot McSpress. Phil McCracken. Yeah, when he was really young in the car once, he said chugga chugga poo poo instead of chugga chugga choo choo. And I knew then that he was genius. I knew then, because he wasn't old enough to know that how funny it was. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't old enough to know how funny it was. Like, it was genuinely funny. It was like chugga chugga choo choo, and he went chugga chugga poo poo, and I thought, that is brilliant. He was like 3 at the time, 3 or 4. He's super young, not old enough to get it. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, he's destined for greatness. That's right. He's gonna change the world. That's what I knew. My son was gonna destroy the world. Not sure if struggling with language or brilliant comedy mastermind. Oh no, he did it to be funny. He 100% did it to be funny. Because he laughed after he said it. But it was almost like you're too young to realize how brilliant that is. When I say mainstream, I'm thinking more of the audiences that The Last of Us games, Ubisoft games, and Nintendo games reach. That might just come down to age rating, though. I might be wrong. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the global popularity of Bethesda games. Excuse me. I don't know about the global popularity. I don't. But I do know they're very popular and very well known. They just are. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to run upstairs very, very quickly. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys are smashing the like button. Consider gifting some members to help us hit our daily goal. When we hit 25, I have to give 5. We don't run ads. That's one of the reasons we don't have to run ads. Get your coffee orders in. The Frickmas blend is back, and we're shipping very quickly, so you get them very fast. And I've been showing off the bag. So I'm going to take a very, very quick break. And then I'll be back. We'll keep talking. We'll keep hanging out. We're kind of in the downshift gear right now. I know we're off subject. Typically, we would have just gone to members and not continued to be off topic. But the Diablo developer stream, we're in another weird limbo period where something's happening at 1, and I like going live around 12:30. So in about 30 minutes, we'll be shifting gears. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We do multiple shows a day. If you like listening, lurking, and enjoying these shows, make sure you're doing all the things to support us so that we can keep doing this every day. We appreciate everybody who continues to just do all of the things. All right, I'll be right back.
All right. We're doing things in weird order. Lunch while in a public stream. We don't do this that often anymore. Be honest, did you snooze at all while putting in work on Diablo 4? I love Diablo 3 and fell asleep playing that game multiple times. I've actually not played Diablo 4 yet. Starfield will be released in the third quarter, if not fourth quarter of 2023. Yeah, I just think they're waiting to tell us. Redfall, those are biscuits? No, it's just a sandwich with like carrots, apples, and like some Biscoff cookies on top. You be doing any holiday content next weekend? Holiday content? No, I don't think so. They didn't show the Game Awards. It's not coming anytime soon. Not live streams. I meant like uploads. I don't even know what I would do. Creature says, nope, we missed the 5 days of Frickman's goal. Yeah. Just woke up. What I missed. New information about Starfield factions and quests. And right now, we're just kind of in a holding pattern. We're going to switch to the next stream and cover the Diablo thing. First looks or reacts coming around there. We're not really going to change our schedule or approach for the holidays. In January, we have a POV for first look, and we're gonna rev that channel back up and get it running again. No, we'll do members after the Diablo stream. I didn't do it yesterday, but I'm gonna do it today because there's some things I want to show you guys for Thursday Throwdown. I mean, I'm going to try my best to get ahead and get stuff recorded for the Lego channel and first look and all of that, so that when I am taking a short trip in January, the trip that we were supposed to have already taken, I'd already be back from it. We had to postpone it to January. Just Elder Scrolls games sold around 60 million copies. Fallout would add another at least 24 mil. Yeah, I would say they're mainstream. Yeah, they're a long way away, Paul. Hey, Filta, getting us another little bump on that member goal. Thank you so much. That takes us to 11. If we hit 25 members for the day, I have to gift 5 as like a thank you, pay it forward thing. So thank you, Filta, for getting us a little bit closer to that goal. Falcon, Archer's Fury, Realmex, Claudio, and Samsung. You guys all got gifted members. If any of you didn't need it or feel like paying it forward, you can return the favor, gift your own. You can upgrade for $1 or get in our Discord. Just enjoy that membership. You get that membership for a whole month, compliments of Filta. That means you get in the member streams. Tomorrow night, Friday night, Hilly and I, the return of Hilly Hijinks. We are not going to be playing GTFO. We're going to be playing The Last Hero of Nostalgaia, and then maybe We Were Here Forever. Gaming community is getting very big at this point, so I just don't know what group is necessary buying all their games. Skyrim's definitely an exception, though. I feel like their games are popular. Fallout 76 was eviscerated, I think, primarily because it was popular. Like, a lot of people bought it and played it. We have an upload coming later today about the Fable situation. We do. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take out the word cancel and put refund. That Hogwarts Legacy short should have cooked and it didn't. I wonder if it's because the word cancels. Are people saying PC is the market for Bethesda? Fallout 4 on console sold a ton more copies. Hilly played GTFO last night and noped out. Yeah, he just said it's going to be 50-50 whether or not we'll be able to make it entertaining. And I was like, I don't like those odds. So... Did I miss something? Are you sponsored by Sour Patch now? No. My wife got the naughty and the nice, the Cole and the Sour Patch for the holidays. And when you order the coffee, if you order 4 bags or more, you get it in a box. We have to use like a shipment box instead of like a bag. And she puts one of these in the box when you order that much. This is like a holiday special. Hilly can make anything entertaining. He makes Lono watchable. Insomniac just confirmed Spider-Man 2 is releasing in November. I got a whole blog. It says Q4. I don't see November. It says fall of 2023. Yeah, releasing in the fall. They did just confirm it. Marvel Spider-Man 2 swings onto the PS5 fall of 2023. You guys want to see something? I got this handy dandy adapter. Check this out. It lets me use my microphone on my phone. And then I can do this. Spider-Man 2 release date just confirmed by Insomniac to be fall of 2023. When do you think this thing's going to land? Is this another big November release for PlayStation? You guys like that? It was good. Now, that's for what am I eating? I was having some carrots. That is for our updates channel. That's for our updates channel. Really going to town your turkey over there? I'm eating carrots. Would have been better if you were still chewing or just had your cheeks chipmunked. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Sandwiches look nice. Yeah, she's got the Dave's Killer bread, I think. I'm not big. I'm not big on it. I'm not big. Okay, so we're going to do Spider-Man 2, and then we're going to emphasize release. Oh, we got to change the color to blue. There we go. Release date. We'll make those ones big. Release date just confirmed by Insomniac to be fall of 2023. This is kind of big news. When do you think this is going to land? And is this another big, oh come on, big November release for PlayStation? Let's make sure it all times right. It does this weird thing. Hey, Rissick just gifted 10 members. Thank you very much. That takes us to 21. So close to the 25 goal. You the best. Thank you very much. Wait, what? So you have to time the words right sometimes for it. Okay, that should be better. I didn't say and. All right. Exporting it. DS Wick, Mark Bent, Andrew Bazzelli, Hype Rex, Brothers Crib, Driz T, Gipshot, Felix Pang, and Kisifer Powell, and Digi Ross. You guys all got gifted memberships. Game Pass? He says, F no. Blacktail. Okay. Did you like those new details we got for Starfield? What new details? What are you talking about? Okay, it's going. The factions and quests. Remember, I joined late, so I didn't get to hear your thoughts on it. My conclusion was yes, these things are very promising. I think it all sounds really, really good. Yes, very excited. Spider-Man 2 feels like a first truly next-gen exclusive. I know we've had Returnal, Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank, Halo, and Forza, but Spider-Man 2 will hit different. I don't know, man. Returnal's so good. Eugene says, I 100% use the $1 glitch for my TV app. Uh-huh. All right, we're going to switch gears here in just a second. Has Diablo tweeted? Is this only going to be on their purple channel, or is it going to be on YouTube as well? They're going to be discussing the Codex of Power System, Lilith, and Anarius, and more. Okay. Hang on. There's no Marvel Spider-Man 2 on YouTube yet. It's so weird. Do you think people will be drained of Spider-Man games? No. Yeah, I don't think they do their streams on. I don't think they do their streams on YouTube. I think they'll do it there later. All right. Yeah, you guys may have noticed I'm not acknowledging when folks come in and say something about something that's like way outside of the topic. So we are getting ready to switch gears to the Diablo 4 dev stream. I will give you guys a link. I'll hit announcements with it in the Discord. If you prefer to not ride the redirect. By the way, I'm not going to reset the goal going into the next stream. We still are 4 away from that goal. If you hit 25, I have to gift 5. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be a Diablo 4 dev stream, and they have said they are going to be looking at the Diablo 4 Codex of Power, as well as some of the characters and story elements. That will be about 30 minutes into this broadcast. So if you're watching the past broadcast, just skip ahead about 30 minutes. I went live around 12:30 to prepare for them to go live, and we will be watching their live stream. We've done a lot of Diablo 4 news coverage. You can check our playlist as well. We'll be creating that and putting all of that stuff there. I'm going to end the previous stream that was about Starfield and bring everybody over with the redirect. If you prefer not to ride the redirect, use that link in chat and come over to the new stream.